Okay, so I believe we're live. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Just sent out the links, so we'll see if we can get this up and going here. Got a new internet connection now at this house, so hopefully it'll all work okay. See a couple of comments already. All right, hopefully everything's live and ready to go here. Just getting all my stuff loaded up, so hopefully I can see comments okay. Everything like that. And, yes. All right. All right, so a bunch of people here already. Hopefully everything's good. All right. I think we're all good here. All right, well, you guys are finding it because I got a bunch of comments here already. And so in the previous, several live streams, I would kind of do it where I tried to I'd get the questions and answer them in the order that I received them, which ended up meaning that people were waiting like 45 minutes for the questions to be answered, which I think was kind of just tough on people. So I don't want to ignore anyone's questions, but I'm going to just try and go with whatever is popping up in my comment window and just kind of run with that whole thing. So if you have a question you really want to ask, keep asking it so that it gets up there. Don't be like super annoying and comment every 3 seconds. But whenever I'm done with answering a question, you can re-ask yours or whatever. And hopefully I'll answer everyone's questions here that I can. And we'll have a good time here. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to go for. I know normally these go for like 4 or 5 hours. I don't know if I'll be able to go that long because my wife has to get up early for work tomorrow, and I'm going to be waking up early too. So I'm not going to go super late. Maybe we'll try and do 2 or 3 hours. We'll see if I can stick to that or not. But that's the goal. So we'll be hanging out here for a couple hours. And yeah, like for anyone that's never done one of these before with me, it's just kind of, we can just talk cars and hang out. And any questions you have, you can ask. Otherwise, we could just, just shoot the breeze about cars and stuff, and share thoughts and opinions and all kind of stuff. So yeah, all right, lots of comments already. Thanks guys for all you that already are here. It's awesome. So let me see. First question I see here, Bradley's asking, he just installed the MAP turbo kit. I'm asking if I'm planning on doing that eventually as well. I have been following that. People keep sending me the video of the MAP 500 horsepower EcoBoost Mustang that is breaking a lot of records. And I was following that because there's a couple people that just broke the 500 mark with the EcoBoost. But MAP is the only one doing it on the stock internals, stock, like basically everything except adding a bigger turbo on. And so it's a really impressive car. I think it's more aggressive than what I want to do. I think I want something that's reliable, and even they say that their car is kind of a ticking time bomb. Something's going to go, whether it's the clutch or something in the motor or what. But I highly doubt, unless this is like the second coming of the 2JZ motor, I highly doubt it'll hold up to 500 horsepower for the rest of time. So I'm good with just my stage 1 tune for now. I'll be doing additional stuff that'll give me additional power here actually next month, and then down the road some more stuff. But for now, I'm really happy with it the way it is, and I haven't even driven it. Like, it's been sitting in the garage forever. I'm glad it finally has a garage, so it's not just getting rained on all the time and stuff. But Mustang doesn't get out much recently, and that'll change. I mean, the press cars, I've had a ton recently. But that won't last forever, and I'll have a little dry period where I won't have press cards probably for a few weeks or months or whatever until they send me some more. So the Mustang will definitely get its legs stretched again, but for now it's just enjoying its rest. DSI says, how is everything, and how's the CTS-V? Everything's great. The CTS is the V Sport. I guess some people got them confused. The actual CTS-V is the one that just came out. I'm not high enough up in the ranks of press to get the CTS-V that quickly. I'm low on the totem pole, so I get stuff like the very last, but I'm just grateful to get it at all, so that's okay. But CTS-V just was being driven by the big magazines the past couple of weeks, so I'm not going to get it probably maybe late this fall, I would guess, if I even get it at all. They don't always guarantee everything for the East Coast. A lot of the West Coast people get all the super hot stuff over here on the East Coast, especially where I'm at in Pittsburgh. Don't get stuff as quickly as New York would or something like that. So It just all depends on what they're willing to send me. But I have the V Sport, which is the model that has the ATS-V motor in it, the twin turbo V6, 3.6 liter, 420 horsepower. So, but the CTS-V is the mental one, it's 640 horsepower. I don't have that one, unfortunately. Hopefully, eventually, I will get one, but you know, to review. But in the meantime, it's just the V Sport. All right, so keep scrolling. I see Zach's here. Thanks for showing up, Zach. And Zach actually showed up at the Pittsburgh Cars and Coffee meet. It was great talking with him, and always cool to, you know, meet fellow car enthusiasts and you know, fans of the channel. It's definitely awesome. So I love meeting you guys. Thanks for all the support, Zach. It's I definitely appreciate it. I always notice it, and it's awesome. So other stuff. Zach also asked, how's the wife? She's doing really well. She may make an appearance at some point here in the video, but yeah, so just having a good time. Married life's great. Brex asks, how did I like my Spec B? I loved it. If you're curious to hear kind of a summary of my thoughts on the Spec B, I did a farewell video to that, similar to the one I did on the BRZ. But I did a Spec B farewell video. It's a long time, but if you just search for it on YouTube, it should pop up. And yeah, so that's that. But it was a great car. I mean, I've owned that car longer than any other car I've ever owned. I owned it for 5 years. I loved it. It was my first fast car, my first manual. That thing put up with so much abuse. I mean, you know, I learned how to drive stick on it, learned how to start on hills, which was really painful at first. You know, it took all the abuse. I took it drag racing, like legit, like lined up against people at a drag strip and drag raced the thing, and it still held up to it. All my other stupid teenage shenanigans and whatnot, that car was just awesome, and definitely miss it. I kind of regret selling it, but the guy that owns it now, I follow him on Instagram, and he takes a really good job. I mean, he actually upgraded the turbo, did some lowering springs, but mostly kept it otherwise the same way that I had it, and he's really enjoying it. So it makes me glad that you know, someone else is really an enthusiast and they're really enjoying it. It's down in sunny Florida now too, so it's out of the bad weather here of Pittsburgh. So that's it's good to see. But all right, scrolling through the questions here. It's kind of getting long, so I'm gonna just go all the way down to the bottom. Sorry if I'm skipping a ton of stuff. Like I said, we'll just you guys just keep asking them, and I'll try and get to them as much as possible. Wow, we got tons of comments already. Jeez, okay, definitely just keep asking. I'm sorry about all this, guys. This is awesome. I love interacting with everyone. This is always so much fun for me. All right, so 06WX dude says, what do you think of the Focus RS? I think it's awesome. I did a video of why the Focus RS is important, and I think it is really important for the car scene because the STI has gotten really, I guess, comfortable with its 305 horsepower it's had for the past 10 years, and there hasn't really been any competition because the Evos had the same output since it's been around as well. So they've never really improved them as far as power and things like that. So I think with the Focus RS, you know, having an extra 40 horsepower over the STI, I think that's really going to make Subaru have a wake-up call and finally give it the power it deserves, which will just make more, you know, good cars for the rest of us. And maybe Mitsubishi will get jealous again and decide to get back in the ring with another sports sedan. But it seems like right now they're just on the whole hybrid SUV kind of thing, which is kind of boring, but it is what it is. So yeah, but I think the Focus RS is great. If I found myself in a position where I wanted a versatile hatchback that, you know, I needed 4 doors, all that kind of stuff, all-wheel drive, that would probably be my first pick. I love the STI, but the STI is a little bit of a rougher ride, and the WX is awesome, but it's not 345 horsepower unless you do some serious mods. So Focus RS would be probably my pick if I was looking for something like that. But all right, so Caleb W says, what are you planning for the new office, car decor, posters, etc.? So, you know, like I introduced in the weekly update, I have this TV now that is going to kind of display the images for the news, and I still have to work that out. I know it wasn't perfect this week as far as fitting the screen and whatnot and the angle and everything. I'm just going to fine tune everything. As far as the color, I know some people were saying I should paint it War Rally blue like my previous room. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I kind of wanted to do something a little more mature. Some people thought the blue was a little too kiddie, but I loved it actually, so that's something I would consider. But yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. But as far as car posters, stuff like that, I have to be careful, you know, with YouTube. It's always about, you know, worrying about copyrights and not violating copyrights and whatnot. So that means, you know, that obviously affects the music that I can pick. I always have to pick, you know, copyright-free music, but I can't hang copyrighted images on the wall behind me as well, as far as posters and things like that. So that's the only thing. I'm allowed to use images in the weekly update because I'm giving my opinion and it's for a news purpose, so that's fair use as far as the whole legal jargon is concerned. But unless I'm talking about the poster that's behind me on the wall, then I can't legally display that without paying the owner of that image some copyright stuff. So no posters, I can say that for certain, but I'm gonna probably try and do some cool stuff. I'm gonna probably reintroduce the die-cast cars. I may do like a shelf or something so that they're elevated above me, since there's not really any room behind me to see with just putting them on the desk there. But I'll figure something out, and I'm interested to hear, you know, your guys' opinions. That's what I kind of asked in the weekly update as well, as any thoughts that you guys have as far as kind of making it look cooler, because I want it to be something that you guys like as well. So you know, even if it's not something I'm in love with, I'll probably do it if a lot of people want to see it. So yeah, that's that as far as the whole office goes. And all right, see, someone said paint it dark green. That would be very, very dark. It'd be kind of a depressing room to be in if it was like super dark. Otherwise, it'd be a cool idea. Someone said just talk about the poster each video. Yeah, that'd be funny. So just to get this out of the way, we have a Ferrari 430 Scuderia poster up on the wall. Actually, I'll show you guys some of my posters since I can talk about them in this live stream. We'll see. I have my all-time favorite car poster. Let me get my camera a little bit better set up here so you guys can see. But still love the Scuderia, one of my favorite cars, one of the best sounding cars of all time in my opinion. I had that in my college dorm room forever, and so that may go up in the office here somewhere, but obviously not, you know, on the wall. You can see it'll probably be on a wall that you otherwise wouldn't see, sadly. I got other posters, but they're like Batman and James Bond and stuff like that. So yeah, probably not going to post those. I try and keep it all car related, but yeah, so there's a little, giving you guys a little tour of the office here a little bit. All right. Zach says he tweeted at me. I'm kind of so just focused on keeping up with the comments that, oh, nice. You just shared the link. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm not going to be checking my phone. So if anyone tries to send me a message on Facebook or Twitter over the next few hours, I'm probably not going to get to it till after this is over. But all righty. Kyle Weisman said, do you know Saab Kyle 04? And I've actually talked to him on Facebook. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I've talked with him a few times. I've never met him in person. We've talked about doing like a collab. He's said, you know, it'd be great to meet up and, you know, hang out sometime, because he's a super cool guy. And honestly, I look up to him as a serious role model. You know, he's kind of one of the pioneers. I mean, you know, some people like to critique him or his style, but I certainly don't. You know, I mean, it's something that's obviously not for everyone, but it's funny. I like talk to people that, like, even if they don't like, you know, certain things about his videos or whatnot, everyone says, like, when they're going to buy a car or they're looking at a car that they want to buy, they watch Saab Kyle videos, because they show you everything. And he's the only person in the first person that really does that and does it so well. And so I just have enormous respect for him, because he's made it his career. It's his full-time thing. He's kind of like me. You know, he also got a college degree. And, you know, it's in a field that he could have been making good money in. And he decided, you know what, YouTube is my passion. That's what I'm going to go for. And that's what he did. And he did that kind of before I made that same leap. And I was like, wow, well, if he's doing it and he can make it and he believes that he can make it, then I can believe that I can make it too. And so he actually he's had a really big influence on my aspirations of being a YouTuber. And so he's definitely awesome. I'd love to meet up with him and hang out sometime. So I am planning on going south this fall. I don't know if I'm going to go to North Carolina where he's at. I'm going to probably end up being in Atlanta, but I don't know if I'll be able to stop in North Carolina or not. But that's definitely something that's in the cards. If not this fall, then definitely in the spring, hopefully. Got my peach tea from McDonald's here to keep me hydrated. Pretty good stuff. Another question. Someone says, Porsche 918 or LaFerrari? LaFerrari. Even though they're both really awesome, the LaFerrari would be my pick, just simply because of the sound. The Porsche 918 sounds really good as well, but the LaFerrari just sounds amazing. It's got that V12 from the Ferrari, F12 Berlinetta, which is one of my favorite cars ever. I think it's one of the best sounding cars of modern times, and so that's the only reason why I picked the LaFerrari, simply because of the sound. Because they're all such good performance vehicles, you can't really go wrong with any of them. They're all insane, but I would do the LaFerrari. Eric says, we believe in you. I appreciate that. That's huge, because sometimes I don't believe in myself. And so it's great to, that's why I've mentioned in the past, you guys that send me positive messages from time to time, just being nice, or just, saying you enjoy the videos and stuff really goes a long way. Because there's some times where I'm just like, just overloaded with work or whatever, discouraged for whatever reason. And that stuff, it really helps. So I really appreciate that, more than you guys probably know. But, all right, so tons of questions pouring in, so I'm just going to try and keep just going with whatever I see here. All right. Someone's asking, Dylan says, 2002 Trans Am or 2004 Mach 1? I reviewed a 2002 Mustang, which was the last of the SN95s, I guess, and wasn't a big fan of it. And it's really funny. That was one of my early reviews. If you look back at that video review of that old Mustang GT, because I wasn't a big fan of the car, and I made that obvious. I'm always honest in my reviews. Some people think I like sugarcoat things and don't say enough of the negatives, but if I don't say negatives, it's truly because it doesn't have it, at least in my opinion. But that Mustang, I gave the negatives, and I still have people that are huge fans of that generation Mustang that just try and tear me apart in the comment section. Like once every 6 months or something, I'll go and just look through it a little bit, and it's kind of funny. But and it's funny because people are like, oh, you're a Mustang hater, and they don't bother to watch any of the newer videos or see that I love that Dude in Blues Mustang when I reviewed it, or that I love the 2015s that I've reviewed, and obviously I own one, so just kind of funny to see that. But yeah, I would probably go with the Mach 1 still, just because it has the cool shaker hood. The Trans Ams and stuff, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to interiors on cars. Like, I don't like a bare bones interior, and they're both bare bones, but that generation GM interior just kind of was rough. My buddy had like a 96 Camaro that had basically the same kind of interior, just really not my thing, I mean, all the buttons and everything just felt like they were out of a Mattel playset or something. It's just kind of funny, but yeah. So anyway, keep looking through the comments here. Someone's asking, are you thinking about doing a SuperDorks fan store / shirts? I don't know about a whole store. We'll see. I do want to do shirts though, just because I've had a lot of people asking for them. I originally wanted to only do shirts if I could give them out for free, or something like that, just because I would just appreciate you guys wearing the channel, and I mean, that helps promote the channel. So to me, it's I feel like I should be almost paying you guys to wear shirts that say the channel name. But I mean, so many of you have been wanting them, and I think that's been holding me back, because I've been waiting until I either was wealthy enough to just limitedly do giveaways of shirts every once in a while or whatever. But so many of you have wanted them that I think I'm going to try. I'm actually working with some people on some designs, just a few cool things that I've kind of thought up. I mean, I also just will have the standard logo for the channel, but I've been working up a few cool shirt designs that I'm going to sell just basically at cost. I'm not going to try and really make any money off of them, just try and keep things as affordable as possible. Not trying to make a killing on them. Some people, they try and make all their living off of shirts, and that's not me. The channel is doing well. It's supporting everything for the most part. Now, like I mentioned in the weekly update when I first got back, whenever I was getting ready to leave for my honeymoon, how I was going to do this full time because it's working out so that I don't have to have a second job to supplement my income, thankfully. And that's again just because thanks to you guys and your support, and watching the videos and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you see, Chris Harris and guys like that complaining about how they need Patreon and how they're struggling, and that's just because they have such high budgets and stuff. So it's really hard for them to stay afloat. But keeping things low budget, like me and Sub Kyle and stuff like that do. We just have our 1 or 2 cameras. We're a one-man crew. We edit everything ourselves. We do everything ourselves. And that helps to keep the costs, pretty low. That this is actually viable, even though it doesn't pay a lot. It's able to keep the lights on and keep things going okay. So, but I definitely want to do shirts. The only other thing I have a hesitation about the shirts is something that I haven't really talked about yet. So you guys, since you're watching the live stream here, you get a little bit of an inside scoop. I am planning on changing the name of the channel. Not 100% set on what I'm doing yet or when I'm doing it. So don't freak out if that's something you're not into. But I don't want to put out a shirt that has the SubaruX fan name and then have it switch over to a non-Subaru name. And have people buy a shirt that then is outdated. So I don't want to do that either. I definitely don't want to, upset anyone in that way. So I want to make sure that I have a strategy as far as how long I'm going to keep the name and all kind of stuff, and make you guys aware of that, whenever I do make sure it's available. But yeah, so that's that whole thing. I keep going on tangents. I'm sorry. I'm going to answer like 10 questions tonight. That's it. But hopefully I can do, get as many questions here as possible. But all right, Oregon Skate says, thinking about trading in my BRZ for a new STI or WRX. Thoughts? And I'm seeing all the no comments. Dang it. Okay, well, we can discuss the whole name change thing eventually. But okay, all right. So one of the reasons why I want to change it, I'll discuss this a little more, is mostly because the channel name doesn't really make much sense. I mean, yes, I can still be a fan of the Subaru WRX, even without owning a WRX and things like that. But there are a lot of people that are confused. The main reason, though, why I want to change it is because of the press cars. And I've had several car manufacturers already tell me, we love your content. We would love to give you a car, but the corporate people will not approve someone with Subaru in their name. And that's understandable. If you're a competitor to Subaru, you don't want to have Subaru in your name. I mean, some people would say that a Subaru fan liking an Audi or some other competitor to Subaru would, that would make it more impressive that, wow, a guy that likes a Subaru also likes a Kia or whatever it is. But other people just say, that's almost like they're just promoting Subaru by promoting someone with Subaru in their name. So it's kind of been a hindrance. You have seen, obviously, there's a lot of car companies here that are willing to work with me and they don't care about the name because they realize that, you guys know that I hardly ever do videos of just a Subaru. It's been a long time since I've featured a WRX and things like that. So, but just to newcomers and people that, I'll walk up to someone, hand them my business card and say, hi, I'm my channel is Subaru WRX fan. They'll be like, what is that? Like, just in a funny way. No one actually gives me crap for it, but it's something that I think is kind of going to grow out. I'm going to have to grow out of it at some point, like, Jeremy Clarkson is Jeremy Clarkson. He's not, I don't know, Mercedes SLS fan or something like that. It's just kind of like something I think I'm kind of growing out of a little bit. I will always be SubaruX fan, like someone mentioned. I saw that comment. I will always be SubaruX fan. That's kind of, a part of my identity now, and that's okay. It's not that I don't like the name or anything, but it's just, I think, something that is a hindrance to opportunities in the future, and I'm determined to bring you guys the best stuff possible, and so it's kind of holding me back a little bit. So I'm still going to give it a lot of thought because I know it's something that some of you guys are hesitant about and are really attached to the name. So yeah, we'll see about that whole thing. It's not totally decided, and if enough of you say you absolutely don't want to change it, then I'll keep it. And the few car companies, even if they say no now, maybe in a couple of years when the channel's larger, they won't say no anymore just because they won't, want to. But that's kind of the whole reasoning behind that whole thing. Not that I don't like the name or anything. Side note though, Subaru has I've been reaching out to them for press cars, and you think they'd be all about it, like, oh, you have Subaru in your name, here's a bunch of stuff. I've sold so many BRZs and stuff for them just through the BRZ weekly updates. People are like, I bought a BRZ because of you, or I bought a WRX because of your review. Subaru does not care. I told them, I was like, look, here's a screenshot of all the people that said hey, I bought a BRZ because of you or whatever, and they don't even care. They won't even give me press cars, which is kind of crazy because there actually are other automotive journalists in Pittsburgh that get Subarus as press cars. So I'm not sure what the holdup is. I'm not really worried about it, but Subaru's never really, been interested in working together or doing anything like that, which is kind of surprising considering, the Subaru thing has been something I've been promoting, of course. And so that's kind of disappointing as well. So that doesn't give me any incentive to keep it as well. But that's another just side note. So lots of tangents. So, all right. Let's see about some other questions here. Alexander Major says BMW 3 Series or Jaguar XE. I haven't driven an XE, so I can't say for sure, but I'm not a big fan of the 3 Series. I mean, it's a good car. The interiors don't really do anything for me at all, and the exterior is just kind of okay. Also, I mean, not that I would buy a car based on its reputation, but BMWs aren't viewed in the best of lights these days. You know, everyone thinks that their owners are jerks and whatnot. I mean, obviously there's exceptions. That's just a stereotype. But, you know, that's kind of one of my holdups. But the XE, I mean, I just love the XE simply for the fact that it has the F-Type V6 in it that sounds so good. And I think it looks good. It's got an exciting interior. So I think the XE is definitely would be my choice, even without driving it. Kendall asks, are you a Corvette guy or a Viper guy? He says he's personally a Corvette guy, but would gladly take the Viper if it was given. Z06 for life. Well, I'm definitely a Corvette person over a Viper person. Both are amazing cars. Again, if you've been following the channel for a long time, you'll know that I got a ride in a Viper ACR around VIR, which is a Virginia International Raceway. That was amazing. It was the most intense car ride I've ever gotten. I got this close to vomiting. It was like the last lap, and I was like hanging on. Like, I don't really get motion sickness as long as I'm, you know, paying attention. Like if I'm reading a book or something, then I can get like motion sickness in the car. But I'm normally okay. But I mean, the Viper ACR produced so many G's. Like, I mean, I went in, like the guy that owned the car, he even told me, he's like, all right, he's like, when you come tomorrow morning, he's like, don't eat breakfast, show up on a completely empty stomach, you know, have something pretty light the night before and everything. He was like, prepare yourself. It's an intense experience. And I took him seriously. I said, okay, I, you know, won't eat anything for breakfast or nothing. So I went with a totally empty stomach and I still almost barfed. Like it was like, we went for, I think it was like 12 laps or something. It wasn't like forever. But it was intense. It was amazing, though. And so I know the Viper is hands down one of the best track cars there is, I think, and it's amazing. But they're really tricky, especially, you know, you don't know when the limits are approaching, and they kind of, you know, don't give you much warning about the limits of them. So it kind of scares me a little bit, honestly, the Viper. And the Corvette is more accessible. I think they're just a better value for their money as well. I mean, a Z06, you can get a good amount cheaper than a Viper. I mean, now that they just reduced the prices on the Viper, the price gap isn't so large, but I still just kind of like the Corvette better, I think. And so let me see here. Someone says showing up on an empty stomach is the worst advice ever. Yeah, I mean, he said, you know, make sure you have liquids and stuff like that. But I'm glad I did that, because honestly, if I had something, that would have just been one step closer to throwing up. But so Festa Sauces, or Feza Sauces, best first car for an enthusiast. And I did a video also about general advice for first-time car buyers. And essentially what I said in that video, I'll give you like a Cliff Notes, is something front-wheel drive, preferably. I mean, you could always go with rear-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, or whatever. Front-wheel drive, you know, like a Civic Si, something like that, is always easy to handle, easy to manage. Rear-wheel drive stuff can step out on you if you're not, you know, used to it and things like that. But yeah, you know, I think a Civic Si is a good first car for an enthusiast. If you want something cheaper, 240SX, the Miata, stuff like that. The only thing is with the older cars, as stupid as this may sound, some people don't get my whole thing on safety, but I'm really hung up on having a safe car. I think that, especially as a new driver, you know, you're more prone to mistakes and just learning things and stuff. So I think it's important to have a safe car, and the Miata is not really a safe car, but you know, it's a fun car. So I mean, it's all about how you drive. If you're responsible, if you're careful, you know, you kind of drive in a defensive mode, so that, you know, you watch out for other bad drivers on the road and stuff like that, then you should be okay, you know, something that's not quite as safe. But Civic SIs, stuff like that, especially the newer ones, you know, are safe, large enough cars, and, you know, have enough airbags and stuff, and you still have fun with it. You know, the VTEC and everything is very fun, as it's well documented in all my car reviews and stuff of the Civic SIs, but it's still a really fun first car. So All right, apparently there's a spam problem. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know if any of you can flag spam, but I can flag spam, so I'm not seeing. Oh, I see the chicken comment. Okay, so it's all good. Alrighty. Anyway, sorry. So about the trading in the BRZ for an STI or WRX. Sorry, I got totally off track. But basically, it all depends on what you like. That's always the thing, because so many people ask me what they should do. You know, so many people say, which car should I buy, this one or the other? And it's completely up to your personal preference, what you need in a car, where you live as far as weather, and do you need an all-wheel drive car, things like that. It depends what model WRX and STI to the person that's asking about that question, because I would say the BRZ is sharper than all of the previous WRXs and STIs up until the 2015. The 2015 STI, I feel, is just as sharp, maybe even slightly sharper than the BRZ. So you'll miss that. You'll miss the handling, I think, even though you can modify WRX or an STI to handle really well. You're going to miss the handling, because, I mean, that's one thing that I miss. I love the Mustang, and I would not, trade it for a BRZ personally. But I do miss the BRZ's handling. I do. I miss the lightweight and the smallness of the car, and that's something, especially going to a four-door sedan, you're going to miss, I think, as well. But if you're like me, and after, if you've had it for a while and you're tired of only having, 151 pound-feet of torque, that's understandable. And I think that, WRX or an STI would be really fun still. It's just a different kind of fun, definitely. So yeah. David says, what's your zodiac sign? I'm Cancer, as my birthday's in July. So yeah, and another person, MacFan, asks, Chevy SS, thoughts? That's funny you ask, because another thing that I'll mention, since you guys are on the live stream, I'm giving you guys all the inside scoop, I'll be getting an SS manual next week. Whenever they come to retrieve the Cadillac CTS V Sport, I'll be getting an SS manual, or at least I'm scheduled to. But that's definitely what they don't ever change the schedule. So hopefully that will be arriving next Thursday here, or this coming Thursday, and so that'll be fun. I'll let you know. But I did review the automatic SS already. That was last year, and I love that thing. That one had the Tom Henry Racing tune and intake and exhaust. And that probably made a little bit of a difference, but man, that thing pulled hard. It ripped so well. And for 45 grand, I think it's one of the best bargains out there. But yeah, so I think it's definitely, if you're looking for something like that, I would take it over an M3. You're saving tons of money over an M3, a new one at least. And I love it. I mean, some people don't like the badge, or they don't like the way it looks. They don't think it's aggressive enough. But if you don't care about that stuff, I think you should definitely test drive one, because it'll convert you, I think, pretty quick. Hawkeye STI guy says, first time I'm actually watching you live. If you could do a collab with one YouTube channel, who would it be with? Thanks for joining, by the way, Mike. He's a old-time friend. We've been going to school together since elementary school. So he actually lives right down the road from my parents' house, where I used to live. And he's got a great little channel he's just started up for any of you interested in WRX videos. He's got an 06 STI that I actually filmed a ride video of. I can't remember, it was a couple years ago. We filmed a ride video of, I think I drove his car and filmed it or something. It's been a while, but he's got a suite of STI that's currently being rebuilt with better internals and whatnot. And he also has a 2015 WRX that he's doing videos on as well. And anyway, so to answer your question, Mike, if I could collab with anyone, like I said earlier on, I would do Saab Kylo 4. He's a great guy, and we're hoping to collab eventually. I talk to him every once in a while, so I'm hoping to collab with him one day. But yeah, so all right. Batman says Fiat 500 Pop, best car out there. Debatable. Nate says BRZ with 2JZ swap. That would be sweet. Although I was talking with someone about this, I think on Instagram in the comments a couple days ago or something, and they were talking about that. And I think I think there's one or two people that have done this, but there's been people that have a BRZ that they swapped a 5.0 Mustang Coyote motor into. If I had unlimited money and I could just do like a crazy sweet project car just for kicks, that's what I would do. I would do a BRZ, like a wide body Rocket Bunny BRZ with a 5.0 Mustang motor in it, and it would be the sweetest thing ever, in my opinion. That is like, we'll see, you know, one day, you know, if things really take off or I win the lottery or something, maybe one day that'll happen. But that would be pretty sweet. That's definitely a bucket list kind of thing. Maybe I'll get to one day. Seeing some more spam here. All right. Josh Shank says, best luxury sedan under 60 grand. I would say the SS, if you consider that a luxury sedan. I'm loving this Cadillac CTS-V Sport that I'm you know, having as a press car this week. That's right at 60 grand. It's a super nice car. I know some people think it's a little overpriced, but I'm trying to sit here and thinking long and hard about what else you can buy for 60 grand in the luxury car segment that's more fun, you know, like brand new. Because, you know, you look at, you know, they advertise the M3 as being starting around low 60s, but, you know, you even look at the options list and you're over 70 grand or whatever. So that's kind of not even a competitor to this Cadillac. And I don't know, there's just not a whole lot out there. The S4 is cool, but they're just not really very exciting to me. Yeah, I mean, I generally think this Cadillac that I'm driving now, the CTS V Sport, is one of the best luxury sedans out there for the money. The Hyundai Genesis that I reviewed, my buddy's 5.0 Ultimate a couple weeks ago, that is another really, really good car. You know, I'm kind of, you know, I like the Mercedes and, you know, stuff like that. You know, some of the Germans are good, but honestly, I think some of them have gotten so overpriced for what you get, and I think that stuff like the Hyundai Genesis and the Cadillac and stuff are the underdogs that I think a lot of people are overlooking when they shouldn't. There's a lot of really good stuff out there. But yeah, so all right, I gotta just shorten my answers here. I keep talking too long. Justin's talking about the 5.0 motor being too big for the BRZ, but I mean, people made it fit, and they were using the stock hood, I believe. I think they just like modified the engine mount so it sat really low in the car. I'm not totally sure, but I know there is out there running and driving BRZ or 2 with the 5.0 Mustang motor. But the Lonely Fry says, will you try to get your hands on the 2016 Miata? Absolutely. I've had quite a few people ask me about that recently. I've reached out to Mazda for press cars, and they flat out told me no. They're just like, we're not interested, thanks. Again, it could be like I mentioned earlier because of the Subaru in my name, and they're a major competitor, you know, to Mazda. That could be it. I'm not totally sure. They might have just not liked the videos, which is okay if that's the case. But Mazda won't give me one, which kind of sucks because I was really looking forward to hopefully reviewing one. I'm just waiting now to see if maybe, you know, one of the dealerships I work with can give me one to review. They're really hot right now, so I don't think any Mazda dealer is going to be like, sure, take a car that sells in like, you know, they just, as soon as they get them, they sell them. I don't think they're going to let me review one. But, you know, if an owner of one offers one, then I will jump all over that because I'm really excited to see how it is. You know, I think it'll probably be something where I wish it had more power, but it's going to be really fun anyway. So, all right. Orlando says, with all this downsizing in engines, do you think the Mustang V8 is in danger? I've actually, you know, been on the Mustang forums reading up because there's a lot of people that think that they may eventually swap the V8 for the EcoBoost V6, the same one that's in the Ford GT, the 3.7 liter V6, or they actually have a 2.7 liter V6 that, if you tune it, could be very easily be over the output of the V8. But from what I've heard from the, you know, Mustang engineers and stuff in public videos and whatnot, they've said that they always plan to keep a V8 in the Mustang. Even if it's just an option, and even if it's not the fastest offering they have, they're going to keep a V8. So I think the V8 is safe, but, you know, who knows? So, I mean, you know, no one expected them to put a 4-cylinder turbo in a Mustang either, and they're doing that. So I guess anything's possible, but I think at least for the next 10 years, the V8 is probably safe. Bubbles is asking if the WX is a good first car, and from a reliability standpoint. The WX is a good first car, one, if you can afford the insurance. That's something a lot of people don't really think about, but there are, especially now that the older WXs are getting cheap enough that people can buy them as a first car, there's tons of 16-year-olds that go out and buy one and wrap it around a telephone pole, and the insurance rates on WXs are so high. They've always been high. And unless you're, someone that's not 16 and male, it's probably going to be pretty tough as far as insurance goes. But if you can overcome that, I think it's a great first car. Obviously, being all-wheel drive, it's pretty easy to handle as far as all that stuff goes. So it's a safe car too. So it looks out for you, and so you have peace of mind in that regard. But as far as reliability, it depends what year you get and the history of the car. There's some that are just totally beat up, really, especially some of these like O2s, like the bug eyes. At this point, they've been, to hell and back several times, and they're just really rough around the edges. And you gotta be careful, because there's people who'll be like, oh, it's stock, but it's like, it's stock now. It used to put out 500 horsepower, and the total, the internals are just completely trashed and stuff. So you really gotta be careful and, do compression tests and all that kind of stuff to make sure that everything's okay. But if you can find a really nice one, then I think it'd be a great first car. Hector says, what are your insurance rates for the BRZ and the Mustang? And I get a lot of people that ask me about insurance prices and stuff like that. And the thing about insurance is that it's different for everybody. So even if someone else is also 25 and a guy has the same driving record that I do, just even if we live in different places, we'll have different insurance rates just because, there's more accidents in one place than in another or whatever. So insurance rates vary wildly for different people. I will say that the BRZ was cheaper than the Mustang, but the Mini was more expensive than both of them, if that makes any sense at all. The main reason is because the Mini is, German parts, BMW parts, and I guess they must have, a lot of them that break, like mine, and so I guess they have a lot of issues with them and whatnot. So the Mini was more expensive than the WRX, or the BRZ, I mean, and the Mustang. So yeah. And Johnny's asking Fiesta ST, what's in its future? I know they're going to do a Fiesta RS. It's basically a certainty at this point. The only question that's up in the air is whether it's going to be front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I think everyone's agreed that it's maybe going to get the Focus ST's 2.3-liter motor, or just have a modified version of its current 1.6 turbo and just have a larger, output or whatnot. But say more spam. And all right. Rodrigo says, fastest car you've ever driven. That's a tough one. I'm trying to think. I mean, if you're, I guess, not the highest horsepower, but probably one of the fastest cars I've driven was the GTR that I reviewed. It was only an 09 GTR. It was before, they were putting out the higher horsepower, but still, I mean, it was a stupid fast car that did, low 3 seconds 0 to 60s all day, and was seriously quick and felt really fast. So that was probably one of the fastest. Trying to think of other stuff that I've reviewed. I will say this fall, if everything goes according to plan, those records of the fastest car that I've driven and whatnot, those will be broken, which is one of the reasons why I'm super excited for this fall. If everything works out, totally up in the air. I won't believe it until I'm actually sitting in the driver's seat, but there's a lot of sweet stuff lined up for the fall. So for now, I would say probably the 09 GTR. All right, so King said, are you getting the Jaguar F-Type? Maybe one day. We'll see if I get, fortunate enough to make enough money to own one, but that is definitely a car I dream about owning one day, at least as a second car or something. Once they're come down in price, and they're a few years old, maybe I'll be able to afford one, but yeah. All right. TSI says, what is the slowest car you've driven? Probably the smart car. I drove a smart car once. Terrible. I only drove it for like, I don't know, maybe a mile. That was enough. It was just like so bad. I was like, never again. Smart cars are awful. So yeah, that is probably the slowest car I've ever driven. Justin Flo says, will you ever consider removing your muffler on your Mustang? I plan on doing an exhaust, hopefully in September if everything works out. That's a big if, though. There's no guarantees, but that is what I'm gunning for, just based on agreements I've worked out with other people and stuff. That's what I'm hopefully going to be able to do. is sometime in September. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so other questions here. Alexander says, what car would you consider owning after the Mustang? I'm probably going to keep the Mustang for a while. I'm really happy with it. And, you know, if you watch the video about all the reasons why I love it, you know, there's a lot to love. The sound is the only thing missing, but hopefully an exhaust will kind of cure that for me. I think I just don't like driving a car with a stock exhaust, and it's just like I need to make it louder. So that's definitely something that's going to happen eventually. But in the future, I mean, you know, I would love to have, you know, Mustang GT one day or a Shelby GT350. I want to kind of keep it, you know, not like crazy. I think if I were to, I think I always want to own a Mustang, you know, probably even just keep the EcoBoost. And just that's a great daily driver. It gets great fuel economy. It'll be great for road trips. And keep that as long as I can. And then if I want to have a different car, a more exciting car, I'll just buy a second car. You know, have something fun, you know, for the weekends or whatnot. But yeah, so that's that. Zach says, come on, Cobb, hurry up. Yeah, so we'll see when everything happens. But Matt says, any thoughts on the new Camaro that releases in the fall? My thoughts on the new Camaro are that I'm underwhelmed with the styling, but I know it's going to be a better car in every way. So I'm excited about it from a mechanical standpoint. Exterior-wise, just not a whole lot to get excited about. But then again, if you remember the weekly update from back when they first released the first pictures of the 2015 Mustang, I wasn't really feeling it either. I like the back end, you know, but not the front really. And now I own one. So thanks to you guys, of course, as well. But that just goes to show, just because I don't love a car right off the bat doesn't mean I won't fall in love with it eventually. So the Camaro, you know, once I see it in person, might change my mind or something. But as of right now, I'm not in love with the looks of the new one. So Car Guy 11, if you guys watched the Pittsburgh Cars and Coffee video that I uploaded yesterday, you'll see his brand new 2016 Corvette that he just bought this past week. Very exciting for him. And anyway, he asked, I never asked how you got YouTube started. Any big breaks? And my whole thing with YouTube, it was kind of sporadic. I made the whole Super Dorks Fan channel back whenever I was 16. I just uploaded a few like gaming videos way back when of just like me playing like Need for Speed Underground and stuff, like super way back when. But then, you know, I kind of took all those videos down. They're not up anymore. And then I just started uploading videos of the cool experiences I was having, you know, filming supercars and stuff that I happened to be around. I was fortunate enough to, you know, be exposed to. And the one big break, I guess if you can call it that I did get was whenever The Dark Knight Rises was filming here in Pittsburgh. I actually went down to set every day. I was working as a detailer, and I was so obsessed with the Batman movie filming in my city that it was just like I wanted to be down there every single day. And I filmed like over a weekend. I filmed a couple videos, and they just went viral, and everyone was posting them up everywhere, and like getting tons of views. I was like, holy crap, this is crazy. So I was like, I want to keep doing this. So I quit my job as a detailer. Don't advise just, you know, doing that. But I had been working there for several years. They were cool with it. I didn't want to like upset them, and they were totally okay with it. Anyway, so over that month, I filmed, I think, about 50 videos from Batman and Bane fighting to Catwoman on her bat pod, and you know, the new Batwing thing that was flying and whatnot. I filmed all that stuff. Those videos got millions of views, a lot of them. A lot of the other ones were several 100,000 views. And in that month, I picked up about 5,000 subscribers, like in a month, which was unheard of on my channel, you know, back in 2011 when that was all happening, or 2010, I think. So that was my first, that kind of put me on the map a little bit, because I was like being featured on like big websites, like Perez Hilton was posting my videos, Huffington Post was posting my videos, so that kind of put me on the map a little bit. But obviously everyone was just watching for the Batman stuff. And once I got back to car stuff, a lot of those people didn't stick around, some of them did. But that kind of, you know, put me on the map. It was my break, I guess, if you can call it that. But otherwise, you know, it's just a matter of consistency. And it just took a long time. I've been at this for a while. It's not an overnight thing. You know, I've been going pretty full-time with YouTube as much as possible, I'd say for at least 3 years now. So it's definitely something that takes a little while, but you know, it's definitely paying off. So that's definitely cool. And let me see. Looking for some other questions here. Pulley says, disappointed about no more Evo. That is disappointing, just because, you know, competition is always a good thing. It helps drive everyone and make everyone better. And the fact that the Evo isn't around means that Subaru, you know, doesn't have as much competition. But now, hopefully, you know, with Ford stepping in with the Focus RS and whatnot, that'll give Subaru something to compete against. But otherwise, the STI would probably just stay the same for the next 10 years because they have no competition. So I'm sad that the Evo is kind of dying, but you know, it's you can only do so much, and if Mitsubishi wants to pull the plug on it, then it's just one of the sad things. There's a lot of car companies that I wish were still around, like Pontiac, that have been killed off over the years, and you know, it's one of those things. But Johnny asks, favorite car movie? Mine is Gone in 60 Seconds. That's a really good one. I would say it's so tough because, I mean, I love all the Fast and Furious movies. I still really love Bullet. If you can consider that a car movie, I guess you probably don't, but it has the best car chase of all time. And that was, you know, from 1968, Steve McQueen. That's definitely my favorite car chase. But I'd say as far as car movies go, it's probably still going to be the first Fast and the Furious, because that's when the cars were some of the actual characters. The cars were a key part of the plot. And, you know, in some of the newer Fast and Furious movies, the cars aren't signature to them. They don't have the same car all movie, or for most of the movie. It's, you know, they just crash in a car and then they go and buy another one or rebuild them. They don't have as much character. That orange Supra that I still have the die-cast of from the first movie, and the green Eclipse and the Charger, of course, that Dom drives, are just so iconic. And I think they're probably the most, I would say, aside from Eleanor, which again from Gone in 60 Seconds is amazing, I think that, you know, the Fast and Furious cars are some of the, I guess, most well-known car characters of all time. So, and yes, Zach says, rest in peace, Paul Walker, and definitely rest in peace to him. That's one thing I want to do. That's another bucket list thing, is I definitely want to go pay my respects to in California there to the site where he lost his life, because I think that'd be really cool. And I really looked up to him. He was always one of my favorite actors. And if you want more thoughts on that, you can go back and watch the video back when that whole thing happened. I don't want to be depressing, but yeah, it's he definitely is a great guy. But anyway, all right. So 1992 Caleb asks, hold on. All the questions are loading. What is your wife's dream car? Does she take some interest in cars? She does take some interest in cars. She's not really too much about performance vehicles. She likes luxury vehicles and likes just having a nice car. But it's funny because she has a Fiesta Titanium, not the ST or anything, and she has the regular Fiesta, and she like complains like that she wishes it had more power, and she doesn't like the double clutch in that car, which is a little slow with engaging from a stop and things like that. And so she's like, you know, annoyed that she has to like put her foot to the floor. You know, she wants more power. So that's something that is hopefully going to be in the cards. We're going to fix that for her here eventually whenever we can, to get her into something that's a little bit quicker. And I won't say any more than that. But so definitely some plans there. As far as her dream car, she loves the Porsche Macan, and so obviously that's quite an expensive vehicle. But you know, hopefully one day it's something we can aspire to and shoot for her to hopefully get. You know, and she says she wants that to be her mom car down the road. You know, we're gonna be waiting for a few years, but eventually, you know, that'd be a good little family car. And I'm not, as many of you know, I don't like SUVs really, but if there is an SUV that I like, it's the Macan, just because it's a really good SUV. It's really good handling. And I experienced that firsthand last year at the Porsche Macan launch event there was in Columbus. I took the Mini up there and went autocrossing, and some of you might remember those videos. And we rode in that Porsche Macan, and it had the launch control and everything, and it was just insane. Just a really amazing SUV. So that would be something I could see myself, you know, being happy driving and stuff. But yeah, so that's her dream car. But Little Daniel says, I'm driving for the first time tomorrow. Any suggestions? I would just say don't stress about it too much. I know it's a big deal, and it's like something that, you know, you feel like you have a lot of responsibility, and everything's going so fast around you, and, you know, it's kind of like hard to just be calm about it. But, you know, I'm sure if, you know, you watch this channel and stuff, you're into cars, And the big thing that I think really prepared me, funny enough, was just racing games and like car games, because you just kind of know, how to handle a vehicle and what you should be doing and what you need to be looking out for, and looking around corners and watching for cross traffic and all that kind of stuff. I think it's something you kind of learn a little bit in video games, especially the free roam ones like Forza Horizon and things like that. So I think that helps really prepare you, get more comfortable with stuff like that. But just have fun and enjoy it. Be safe, and good luck, by the way. Hopefully it all works out. And yeah, but definitely fun. I think that's still one of the biggest and most exciting things growing up was getting my license, and that was just like, it's the best thing ever. So just enjoy it. But Eric says, why not the Cayenne? Referring to the previous question about the Macan. Mostly because the Cayenne is just bigger, and my wife doesn't like large cars, so having something a little smaller than the Macan isn't quite as overwhelming. And speaking of my wife, she's popping in. How's it going? Huh? If you want. She's being shy. But yeah, so that's that whole thing as far as why she likes the Macan better than the Cayenne. Frost says GTA 5 prepares him for driving. I don't think you should. Well, I mean, yeah, GTA 5 is good because you have traffic and stuff like that. As long as you drive in GTA 5 like non-recklessly and not like a maniac. But yeah, GTA 5 is a good time. I don't have a video game system. I like sold my Xbox 360 a couple of years ago because I didn't have any time for video games. I'm always editing or filming or uploading, and it keeps me very busy. I don't have time for video games, unfortunately. But I'd hopefully, if I can get to a point in my work life here where I have a little more free time where I can learn how to manage my time better, I'd love to get back into video games and to get an Xbox or something and play some GTA 5 because that's always fun. But all right. The other car expert says, do you think McLaren gets you looks or Rolls-Royce? Rolls-Royce looks like Bentley, doesn't it? I don't think the Rolls-Royce really looks like a Bentley too much. As far as looks go, I think the Lamborghinis are some of the best cars if that's what you're looking for, is getting attention. I actually just someone I know got a new Lamborghini recently, and they said like this is their first one, and there's like the attention that people give you is just crazy. Like, everyone's looking, everyone's talking, everyone's asking. So I think if you want attention, the Lambo is definitely the best thing. McLarens are a little more discreet. Obviously, you can get them in a bright color, and that'll help get some attention to you. I think the Rolls-Royce and the Bentleys, everyone's just like, wow, that guy's rich. It's not like whoa, that's a cool car. It's just like, wow, that guy's like really rich. But yeah, what else was I going to say about that? I was going to mention something, but I can't remember. All right. The Lonely Fry says, what do you use to edit your videos? I use Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. I really like it. Bubbles asked, did you cry at the end of Furious 7? I did. And again, I talked about that in my weekly update where I kind of did my little bit of a movie review. And yeah, it definitely did. It was one heck of an ending. Evan Blair says, change your opinion on the 350Z, question mark. Not sure what that means. I know someone was asking me on Twitter this past week about the 350Z. It's a great car. I love them. I love the driving position especially, but it's so satisfying to drive. Really good car. That is a good first car, by the way, if you can find one cheap that's not super beat up. They're good, although I've heard they're tricky in the rain. I haven't driven one in the rain, so I can't say. Some people say they're kind of scary in the rain. Definitely in the snow, it'd be kind of sketchy if you live in a place that gets snow. But yeah, so there's that. Let me see. I'm just kind of looking through the questions here. Risty says, I just bought a 2016 370Z Nismo. What do you think about the Nismo body kit? I think it looks great. They're really cool looking cars. I just wish they would like make a new Z. The 370Z is great, but it's been around since 09, and it just really needs it needs a whole new car. I've been just doing light updates here over the past you know, however many years now, I guess 6 or 7 years it's been out, but they just need to make a new one. And, you know, if you watch the weekly news, then you know that I've talked about it. Nissan has said they don't know what they want to do with the next Z. They don't know if they want to make it a BRZ competitor, make it cheaper and slower and lighter and smaller, or if they said they don't want to make like a 400Z because they said that would be overkill. They don't want to make it faster or heavier or larger. So they're probably going to downsize when they do, but it's still just kind of sad. They're like, we don't know what they're going to do. So if they haven't even started developing anything yet, don't look for a new Z for another 5 years at least. So 370Z is going to be around for a while. It might even just get discontinued and Nissan won't have a sports car aside from the GTR for a while. I don't know. But yeah. Evan also asked, how do you manage to get your hands on so many vehicles? And this is something a lot of people ask that are wanting to start their own YouTube channels, you know, reviewing cars. And getting cars to review is the hardest thing because especially when you're totally just starting out, totally brand new, no one's going to just toss you the keys to stuff and say, here, go ahead and take out this car. Or, I don't know who you are or how. I mean, because they're always worried this guy's trying to show off on camera. He's going to go and wreck the car. So I was fortunate. I mean, what I actually did, if you watch my first couple of reviews, I actually rented a couple of cars. There's a thing called Zip Car around here in Pittsburgh. My first few couple cars were either Zip cars or they were family members' cars, things like that, friends' cars. I had a friend that was nice enough to hook me up with a couple of his buddies that had some cars that I was able to review. And then I was fortunate enough that I was friends with someone that owned a car dealership, and they were like, it doesn't cost me anything. I trust you. Anything on the lot here you can take out and review. And that was huge because it just opened up, you know, 150 cars on his lot or whatever that I could just, you know, go and review. And so that was huge. And then he introduced me to another car dealership owner. And so it's all about networking. I know a lot of people say that in regards to careers, careers and things like that. But it's really true. And networking is huge. And so it's just opened up all these other doors. And then once you get, you know, to the point where the channel is larger, then you have people that offer cars. And, you know, many of you have offered your cars. And that's huge because, again, that keeps the channel going and stuff. So that's awesome, and I'm very appreciative of all of you that have offered your cars and the cars that I've reviewed. But yeah, so that's basically it. And it's just, you know, a matter of either just starting off with friends' cars and stuff like that, and showing, and then show that to a dealership and say, this is what I can do, and, you know, really kind of convey that, you know, what you can do and that you're responsible and you're mature and, you know, you're someone they should trust, you know, you taking out a car for an afternoon or whatever. And so it's tough, but then, you know, once you get, you know, more momentum and the channels, you know, gets larger and whatnot, then that's when you can approach the car manufacturers and say, look, I have X amount of subscribers. The video will probably get at least this many views, and then they just decide whether or not that's worth, you know, them sending you a car to review. So at that point, it just all comes down to numbers and whether or not, you know, you have what it takes for them to, you know, for it to be worth it for them, I guess. All right. Brian says, do you swap summer, winter tires or go all season? If you watch the videos over the winter time, you'll know that I definitely always suggest snow tires. Even if you have an all-wheel drive car, I suggest snow tires because a lot of people make the mistake of buying. I mean, there are some all seasons that'll get you by if you live in certain areas, but to me, the peace of mind of having snow tires goes a long way because, you know, some people will just put them on the back, or they'll say, oh, I have an all-wheel drive car, I can get around fine in the snow. And even if you can get up to speed, you need a good tire to slow you down so you can stop and so you can turn and things like that. And so it's not all about just getting traction. It's also about, you know, being able to slow yourself down and whatnot. So I always actually suggest that people do that. And I currently, you know, the Mustang has all seasons still from the factory that I haven't worn out yet. And I'm not going to replace the tires until I replace the wheels, which may come either in the fall or in the spring, depending on how things work out. But at that point, I'll get dedicated summer tires. But on the BRZ, that had the standard, I think they were all seasons. Yeah, the standard like Prius, all season performance tires. And I just left those on because that helped keep the car more oversteer happy and tail happy. But on the Legacy that I had, the Legacy GT, that I always ran summer tires, and then I would switch over to dedicated snow tires and snow wheels every winter, and that's what I plan on doing in the future. So let me see. So Pulley says, thoughts on the Type R. Would you buy it over a Mustang? I would not, just because front-wheel drive is fun and it's enjoyable in its own way. But to me, rear-wheel drive is always going to be more fun. And just getting the back end out and fighting with a car as it's trying to put down traction on the rear tires is really just far more exciting in my book. And so even though the Type R is going to be a blast whenever it comes out, I'm sure, I would still prefer something rear-wheel drive. Gunnar says, how do you keep the Mustang clean in the winter? Do you get a lot of salt and stuff like that? The Mustang, any of my cars I've owned during the wintertime, even now I have a garage, but it's not heated or anything, so I probably won't wash it in the garage during the winter. What I do is I just run it through an automatic car wash. I make sure that it's a touchless automatic car wash, because the ones with the brushes and stuff that are rubbing up against your car are just the worst. I mean, they leave you so many scratches and stuff, so I wouldn't suggest that. But the touchless stuff, it knocks the salt off. You can get the wax stuff they spray on it or whatever, just to kind of fight a little bit of the road grime and things like that. That's what I do in the winter. I just take it through the car wash, whenever it starts to get built up a little bit, once a week or whatever, and that's about it. But I mean, if you're driving a car through the winter, there's only so much you can do to preserve it or help it. It's not going to be pristine, and it's going to be more prone to rust than a car that's never seen salt. So it's the way it is. So I don't really. There's a lot of people that are really OCD about their car and maintaining the appearance and things. I'm kind of the opinion, drive it and enjoy it. Unless it's a car you plan to keep until you're 75, it's still something that I think should just be driven and enjoyed, not, worried about being ruined and things like that. Cars can be replaced as much as we love them, and get attached to them. Sometimes things happen that, they get in accidents or whatever, and they don't last forever anyway. And so, I think it's just something it's important to just enjoy it the way it is. All right. Tara says, will Ford change the 5.0 Mustang for a bigger engine? I don't think. I think if you want a bigger engine Mustang, you can go with the Shelbys and things like that. But the 5.0 is a gem. I think it's one of the best motors Ford's ever put out, and I think they should probably stick with it for a long time. I think they probably will. TWX asks, how's the vintage car fan thing going? Got any new vids coming out? Thank you for asking about that. Not too many people really are still interested in that. I do try and do stuff, but it's just I have a lot on my plate just doing this channel. I know a lot of people don't think that it's a lot of work, or that it's easy to edit videos and film stuff and all that, but there's a lot that goes into it. And even though even just doing 2 videos a week, I want to start doing 3 or 4 at least. Because I don't like only having 2 videos a week, but even just doing that, it's still a full plate. But now that I'm doing this full time and it's my only thing, hopefully I'll have more free time to start doing the vintage stuff. I am going to a vintage car cruise that's huge. It's one of the best in this area on August 30th. It's the Moon Car Cruise for anyone that's local. I'll be there. I know last year I still have probably 24 cars that I filmed there that I haven't had time to edit and upload. Because those videos actually take a little more time to research, because I don't know everything about each car. So when I do the voiceovers for the Vintage Car Fan videos, I have to kind of research them a little bit and kind of learn about the car a little bit, so that I kind of sound somewhat intelligent whenever I'm talking about them on the videos. So those take a little more time, but I definitely want to keep doing that. Even if it's just a side thing and it's not consistent, I want to continue to do that. But haven't done anything recently, but I'll be filming a lot of stuff at that show again on the 30th. And hopefully I'll have some time to post those videos up here over the next rest of the year. All right. Hassan says, what's the best sports car for a $20,000 budget? I would say used FRS, used Mustang, used WRX. Trying to think. I mean, I would say, a really nice 350Z or a used 370Z, something like that. Probably my best bet. It's really, again, it all comes down to taste. Some people don't like 4 doors. Some people only want 4 doors. It's extremely dependent on the person. I can't really make a blanket suggestion to, everyone. Everyone likes different things. All righty. Risty asks, Matt, what DSLR do you use to film your videos? I use a Canon T3i, and it's been really good to me, actually. I like it a lot. M. Jones says, do you think Chevrolet will bring the Cruze hatchback to America? They're quite popular here in Brazil. They look a little bit strange, though. Well, thank you first for watching all the way from Brazil. That's awesome. I don't know. I mean, you know, with Americans being more and more receptive to hatchbacks these days, it may happen. But honestly, I didn't even know they made a Cruze hatchback, so I don't know. I know Americans still really like their sedans, so they might just keep with that. AMCI says, would you ever get a really powerful sports car with an automatic gearbox? Only if that's like the only way it would come. Like, for example, the F-Type R, you know, that I reviewed, that only comes in an automatic, but it's such a good automatic. I don't really mind. It's a really great car, and that wouldn't keep me from owning one if I had the money to. So I would still own a car, even if it only came with an automatic. But I mean, these run-of-the-mill, like regular automatics, and some of the cars that are out there, just not very impressive. So definitely a manual if I can. Alex asks, will you go to Los Angeles again? That's something I definitely am hoping to do. Maybe this winter, if not, maybe next year, we'll see. But I definitely want to make it out to LA again. I had a great time. The whole SoCal South Bay 86 Club was super nice. Really had a great time with all of them, hanging out with them whenever I was out in LA last year. And really want to go out there and hang out with them again, and a lot of other stuff. There's so much to do in California. I could probably be in California for like an entire year, and I wouldn't run out of things to do because there's just so much I want to do out in LA. And maybe one day I'll relocate to out there. Who knows? But definitely want to be there again soon, sometime. All right, loads of more questions here. Arsh says, if you had all the money in the world, which car would you buy? And I mean, I would probably have lots of cars. I wouldn't just have just one if I had tons of money. But if I could only have one car, it would probably be the F-Type R. As crazy as that may sound, it's a pretty reliable, really nice, comfortable, really exciting, really fast, really fun car. Kind of does it all. And that would probably be my choice. The F12 Berlinetta is like my favorite exotic, I guess you could say. So that would be my pick if we're talking exotics and things like that. The hypercars and stuff like that are sweet, but even if I was a billionaire, I probably wouldn't own one just because it's like I would be too scared to drive it on the streets. If I'm owning something, I want something that's easy enough to own and service and stuff like that. That if it gets in an accident, it's not the end of the world. If it's something that it's just, something happens or whatnot. I want something that I don't have to worry about. So the F-Type's, I think, a good car for that, stuff like that. But all right. Jay asks, what mods void your warranty? And that is completely dependent on the person that wants to void the warranty, or the dealership or whatnot. But generally, there's the whole Moss-Ferguson Act, I think is what it's called, that says that they can't void your warranty based on one part unless they prove without any doubt that that part is what caused the car to fail. So, like for example, if you have lowering springs on a car and your motor blows on a stock motor, they're not going to void your warranty because you have springs. That's totally unrelated. And even if it's something like a tune, if you have a tune and your motor blows, they have to prove that the tune's changes are what blew the motor in order for them to void it. They can't just be like, oh, he's got a tune, screw him, and just void it. I mean, some people may do that, but that's something you could appeal because that's not technically, I guess, legal. And so you have to make sure that, they don't try and walk all over you and stuff like that. But, I mean, I would say to avoid, as a general rule, if you don't want to worry about your, warranty being voided, I would stay away from tunes just because that does, affect the motor, and that's something that can go wrong pretty easily if you don't choose the right tune or don't have it running the right way or whatever. But yeah, so that's really the only thing I think you could stay away from. I mean, aside from the crazy stuff, aftermarket turbos, stuff like that. But otherwise, the bolt-on stuff, intake, exhaust, all that stuff is totally fine. So someone here is asking, answer me, G37, how do you feel? G37s are sweet. It's been a long time since I've driven a hardtop regular, like one of the S ones. I've recently, I didn't review it, but I happen to drive a convertible, you know, a retractable hardtop, regular G37 automatic, and they're good. But I think, you know, definitely with the manual and the S versions are the ones to get. But that's one of the most evasive cars, because so many people ask me to please review a G37, and it's like I can't find them. Like they're nowhere to be found, at least around here. I mean, not only are they not for sale or they're not available at the connections I have with the different dealerships, but no one's offered a G37 in any area that's remotely close to me for me to go out and review it. And I don't see them on the road really. I don't know if they just kind of disappeared or if they're just never really popular or what, but I never see G37 coupes anywhere. It's really sad. So that's one of the top cars I want to really review so badly. So yeah, we'll have to just wait and see if someone offers one. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep waiting. All right. King James asks about the BRZ's insurance and whether it's the same or more than the Mustang. I answered this a little bit earlier, but real quickly for those that are joining a little bit later here. The BRZ and the Mustang, I think the BRZ was a little bit cheaper, but not by much. The Mini was more expensive than both the BRZ and the Mustang, so that's kind of funny. All right. So Jeff says, would you choose a G8 or a Charger? I've never driven a G8, so it's hard for me to say. I mean, it's based on the same kind of chassis as the Chevy SS that I reviewed. So if it's anything like the SS, then I'd probably really like it. But the Charger, I mean, I reviewed the RT Charger last year. Wasn't a huge fan of it. It just felt really big and bulky and not really sporty. And I mean, it's a large sedan. I mean, I didn't really expect it to be crazy, but yeah, just, you know, it just was kind of underwhelming. So I'd probably go with the G8, I think. Zach says, are you going to review an RX-8? That's another car that's so evasive. I had an opportunity to review an automatic RX-8, but as many of you know, the automatics actually have less horsepower than the manual. Plus, I know, you know, most of you guys want to see a manual, definitely not automatic, so I kind of passed on that car. I actually took it for a test drive too, just for the heck of it, and it was slow. So my review probably would have been very positive if I had reviewed the automatic RX-8. So I'm waiting for a nice manual, but that's another really rare car that no one's ever offered me in my area, and hasn't really come up as a car that's been available to me to review. So just waiting for the right one, but I would like to review an RX-8 for sure. All right. Keegan says thoughts on the 350Z as a first car. I mentioned the 350Z earlier. It's a good first car, except I've heard that they're tricky in the rain. I've never driven one in the rain, so I can't say. But the one that I reviewed, I loved. They're super fun. They're really great cars. But you know, if you live in a place with lots of rain or snow, I would probably look at something else, just because I don't think they're really the best as far as that stuff goes, even with snow tires and stuff. But yeah, so there's that. All right. Jordan says FRS or BRZ for a first car. I think that's a great first car if you can afford it. Just because, you know, it's enough power to have fun with, but not enough power to really get yourself into trouble. And that's the great thing about it. I think it's a great car for people that are entering the enthusiast and, you know, getting into cars. I think it's a good first car. It won't overwhelm you. It won't be scary. When it does step out, it's very predictable and controllable, and it won't step out unless it's really provoked. And so I think it's just a really great first car for anyone. It gives you a good introduction to how great lightweight cars are and how fun rear-wheel drive is. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend that as a first car if you could afford it. Dakota says, are you still doing / looking for acting jobs on the side? I'm not. I'm really busy. Hopefully, if things get less busy here, I mean, you know, I've been just moving in over the past couple of weeks here, and you know, been very busy with the wedding and whatnot. But now that that's all kind of died down, hopefully I'll have some more free time, because I really enjoy acting and you know, being in movies and stuff. That's been a lot of fun over the past few years to have done that. Some of you that, you know, are newcomers again probably don't know that, but I've been an extra in several movies, and if you watch you know, a couple scenes in movies like Abduction, and I was in Perks of Being a Wallflower, but you can't actually even see me in that. But Abduction is some of my best screen time. I was also in The Fault in Our Stars, which came out last year, and some other stuff. Well, actually, there's a movie that's coming out. I was in Foxcatcher as well, but you couldn't see me in that. But there's a movie coming out called Fathers and Daughters that has Russell Crowe in it. I believe it's coming out this fall. That's the last movie that I've been in, and that goes to show how long the production time is for that. I was in that last spring. So spring of 2014, I was in that movie, and it's just coming out this fall. And I was in a scene with Russell Crowe where he's reading a book. He's at a book reading at like a bookstore, and I'm sitting like in the second row in the crowd. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I was really close to the camera, so I'm pretty sure there's some good screen time if they edit it in a way that I'll be able to be seen. So if you go see Fathers and Daughters, you may be able to spot me in that. But yeah, I really enjoy doing that. It's really a rush for me to be on set and being around celebrities and stuff like that. So hoping to do that eventually, but as of right now, I'm not looking for anything, but good question. And someone else asked what other movies I've been in. I'm trying to think. There's been quite a few, but Perks of Being a Wallflower, The Fault in Our Stars, Abduction, like I said, that's the best one. If you watch the classroom scene in Abduction, you'll see me sitting at like right next to Taylor Lautner, but then right behind him, like so to his left and then one seat behind. I'm sitting there like bored out of my mind in class, and that's probably been my best screen time so far. But if you watch The Fault in Our Stars, there's a dinner scene, like a fancy dinner scene, and I'm sitting like in the back left. You can see me like eating dinner with my dinner date or whatever. And so yeah, and then if you another movie I totally forgot because this is something I don't know if I've talked about on video really or not, but my wife, I met her on a movie set for Shane Dawson. He did a movie called Not Cool that was just released last fall, and it was for a TV show, but it was released on DVD, but it was never really theatrically released across the country. But it's a very vulgar movie, so just warning you, if you're not into vulgarity or Shane Dawson's style of comedy, then you will hate it. It's just disgusting in many ways, but it's kind of funny in some other ways. And me and my wife actually were assigned to be boyfriend and girlfriend in this party scene, and we were hanging out on set all week, and kind of just went from there. And so that's how I met her. And so that I have a lot of screen time in that, because that was kind of a movie where they only used a certain limited amount of extras, and we were just in everything. So you can spot me very easily all over the place in Not Cool if you watch that. But yeah, like I said, if you're not like over 18, R-rated movie audience, I would not suggest it, because it will scar you for life probably. But all right, so moving on. So Thomas is asking about avoiding clutch wear. I guess the best way to avoid clutch wear that I would say is to just not be afraid to stall it. Because, if you really are hard on the gas and you like dump the clutch just so you don't stall it, then you end up burning the clutch up and stuff with, trying to get it to catch at the right point and stuff. That's something that just takes practice, honestly. It's always kind of like a seesaw thing. So if you're 50% gas, you gotta be 50% clutch, and it's always just going in and out, back and forth, and always just mirroring, doing the opposite action of what you're doing with the other foot. And it's just something that really does take time. You gotta be doing it every day. You gotta just practice a lot. Make it your daily driver, and you'll get the hang of it pretty easily. All right. But yeah, if you're asking about like, will a clutch last forever? Most of the time, no. You'll have to replace it. Sometimes, it depends on the car, but some cars they go by 70,000 miles. Other cars, they can last 100,000. That's really pushing it. I would say on average, most vehicles need their clutch replaced around 70 or 80,000 miles, I'd say. Brian says you need to upgrade the clutch with the tune. On the Mustang, no, because actually that MAP turbo kit on the that EcoBoost Mustang that's doing 500 horsepower, they're still in the stock clutch. Now, it probably won't last forever, but the stock clutch can handle a good amount of abuse, it seems. So that's good. As far as other cars, it depends on the car. Some cars have really good clutches and transmissions that can withstand abuse. Other cars, it's like it does not handle anything. So it all just depends. But All right. So Jeff says, what is your favorite mod that currently exists for the new Mustang? I think probably the tune, and that's the tune that I have, the Cobb tune. Not just because that's what I have, or that I like Cobb or anything, but it's just such a good bang for your buck. $500, and you get 100 pound-feet of torque. Like, if you would have told that to someone even 15 or 20 years ago, their mind would have been blown. Or I mean, you look at these guys in the 60s and stuff that are like doing all these big hard part swaps and stuff just to get a few more horsepower. To just plug a thing into your car and get 100 extra pound-feet of torque is just ridiculous. And Ford, I don't know why they held back so much power, aside from just not wanting to step on the toes of the GT, but it's amazing what you can get with a tune. So that's definitely, I think, the best mod. Yeah, Boy says his question will never get answered, but that's the first time I saw your comment, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to answer as much as I can. So yeah, just keep asking in a non-spammy way, every once in a while, hopefully I can see it and answer it here for you. All right. So Epic Lion HD says, thoughts on the all-new Miata? I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the live stream. I think they're great. I haven't driven one, so I can't say for sure, but the Miata's formula is always a really good one, and I tend to like more power, so I think if I reviewed one, I'd probably wish it had a little more power, but it could very well be sufficient with its little engine and lightweight. But I think they're really fun cars, and I didn't review the new Miata obviously, but I have reviewed the older Miata a couple of years ago and really enjoyed that. It was like, I think, a 2011 model or something. That was really fun. All right. Seeing some spam again. All right. And then someone else said, thoughts on the safety or lack of safety on the Miata. I kind of touched on that earlier as well, but Miata, yeah, lack of safety is definitely something that kind of would keep me out of daily driving one, I think. But then again, I just like really safe cars because I've seen, some other people getting these crazy wrecks and stuff. And definitely, I think, safety is really important. And I mean, obviously you can get hurt in any car. No car is going to 100% save your life every time. But, I think having a lot of airbags and having a well-engineered frame that, will hold up well in an impact is very important. All right, so let me see. Someone asking here, what do you think of a Fiesta ST versus Mustang EcoBoost in the winter? Fiesta is definitely going to probably be the better choice in the winter, just because front-wheel drive is better for the winter time, so that's what I would go for. All right, let me see. Still keeps loading. Tara says, thoughts on the 707 horsepower Challenger, the Hellcat. I think they're awesome. I think it's amazing that Dodge is making a car with 707 horsepower and only charging 65 grand for it. Gotta love America. It's great. So yeah, that's another car I'm dying to review one day. That'd be awesome. Isaac says, describe what Mr. Regular looks like. I cannot do so. I'm sorry, but I respect his wishes of, his wishes to be anonymous, and so I can't say what he looks like. So, but he's a very nice guy. I love doing my little collab with him here over the winter. It was really fun time hanging out with him, and he's got a great channel. Definitely very different, but definitely just hilarious to watch. The other car expert says, is a Jeep good? I have seen many cars that can off-road as well and drive in snow well. Jeeps are great for those things. I think they're some of the best if you want an off-roading and winter kind of car. Jeeps have been known to have quality issues from time to time. Some people have had issues with them. The hacking thing that was coming out here in the past couple of weeks with them. But I think they're great, and as long as you don't plan to keep it forever, I think it'd be fine. But hopefully they've improved their quality here over the years, and they're better now than they used to be before. All right. Bubble says, the spoiler or not the spoiler? Depends on the car. Kendall says, what's your opinion on pets? And then it keeps loading. Would you ever consider getting one? So my family has a dog. They have a Maltese. His name is Oscar, and he's pretty awesome, although he can be a little yappy sometimes. But yeah, so now that I've moved out of my parents' house, that I'm living here with my wife now in our own house, she has a cat that's 16 years old. He's awesome. His name's Marshmallow. And so it's fun having him. I like cats. They're a little more low-strung, and they need less attention than dogs. And I'm not a huge animal lover. Not that there's anything wrong with them or anything. I'm just like, it's just not my thing. But it's funny. I wasn't really into cats at all, but now with my wife's cat, I really love him. He's awesome, and it's great to have him around. So I think cats are probably going to be our thing. That's what my wife loves the most anyway. So I think we're going to stick with cats here in the future. But dogs are great too. All right. Kitty says, do you know anything about an O2 VW Jetta 1.8T? I know they're very reliable cars. I don't know much more about them than that. Sorry. All right, Eric's asking Disney wedding. How was it? Where was it? It was at Disney World in Orlando. It was great. It was really perfect because for our wedding, we didn't want to have like a wedding here at home with 1 million people. It was just like a lot of pressure. We don't, like having, tons of people watching us walk down the aisle and all that kind of stuff. So we just wanted to do something small. So we had just our family members and our closest, I had my best man, she had her maid of honor and their significant others. And that was it. It was just a really nice, tight-knit thing. We really enjoyed it. And for those that know Disney pretty well, we had it at the Grand Floridian. They have a wedding pavilion thing there, and it was really nice. And I would recommend it for anyone that likes Disney or anyone that doesn't, just wants something kind of low-key, destination wedding. It's a great place, and they really treat you nice. So it was really fun because we were able to have like a big family vacation at Disney with everyone, which was a blast, and then have the wedding right there, and everything was just nice and easy and really great. Your boy says, Matt, would you ever straight pipe your Mustang? No. So I'm glad I finally saw your question. Like I said, I'm trying to get to everybody's as much as I can, but I would not straight pipe the Mustang. I've heard straight pipe Mustangs on YouTube that people have posted up, and they sound terrible. I'm sorry. To anyone that has a straight piped EcoBoost Mustang, everyone likes different things. That's totally fine if that's what people like. But I personally do not like the sound. I think it sounds like a dump truck and just sounds awful. I do not like them straight piped. I think you need a good exhaust to make it sound somewhat decent, even for a 4-cylinder. So I would do an exhaust, but definitely would not do a straight pipe. All right. So, all right. Brian says, do you play any video games? I'm looking forward to the new Need for Speed this fall. I mentioned this earlier too, but real quick, I'll go over it again. I don't play video games. I don't have any time. Sadly, I wish I did, because the new Need for Speed looks really sweet. And I was really into Need for Speed way back when, and I actually ran a Need for Speed website back when I was like 16, and that was where the Super Dorks fan name actually first popped up. And so the few people out there that were on those forums that are still around and stuff that remember that, that's where the name first popped up, and I love the Need for Speed games. They're always really fun. Although recently the physics haven't been the best in some of them, but yeah, hopefully, if I get more time here in the fall, I'd love to check out the new Need for Speed game and do some gaming, maybe do some streaming even, stuff like that would be cool. But anyway, all right. Your boy says, tell us how you really feel. Yeah, I'm honest. I'm always super honest. I don't really pull punches. I call it how I see it. So yeah, the straight pipe EcoBoost just does not sound good to me. But some funny questions here. Rick says, are you going to put louvers on your Mustang? I am not. I saw some people were kicking around the idea on the Mustang forums and stuff. I thought about doing quarter window louvers maybe eventually, but I haven't really seen any that I really like, that, you know, the design and whatnot. And, you know, a lot of that stuff, you know, the retro kind of stuff, I don't know if it really fits on the new 2015 body style. I think that, you know, it's kind of a new direction. I think it looks better on the 13s and 14s and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, so that's, I'm not going to do that kind of stuff, I don't think. Risty says, what's your opinion on Armatrix exhaust? Looking to buy one for my Z. I think they're sweet. I think they're expensive from what I know about them, but they're awesome, especially having the control to make it louder or quieter. I would love that on my next exhaust, for it to have a valve to open up and stuff. That would be really cool. And I think they're sweet if you can afford it. They're just, from what I've seen, they're really, really loud. So as long as you don't mind really having a super loud exhaust, I think that's great. Someone asked thoughts on the SRT4s. I've never driven a Neon SRT4, but I've heard some mixed reviews on those. I've driven a Caliber SRT4 once. It was modified. I didn't like it at all. I mean, it was a fun car in the way that there was front wheel drive, wheel spin. There was lots of turbo whooshy sounds, but the suspension just really was a disappointment. Didn't handle nearly as good. It felt big, bulky, not the most fun to drive on curvy roads. So that's my whole opinion on the Caliber. But I know I've had quite a few people ask me to review a Caliber SRT4. So if I can find one to review, I will. But that's another car that's just been kind of elusive to me, and I can't seem to find one to review. So if that happens one day, that'd be great. But yeah. So someone's asking, was the BRZ decently quick? That is my only thing stopping me from getting one. It all depends on what your definition of decently quick is. I think in the beginning it's quick enough for most people, but over the time that I've had it, you know, I had it for 2 years, it was kind of getting to the point where, like, if I would have been able to keep it, I would have probably been trying to turbo or supercharge it soon, because it just gets to a point where it's kind of hard to merge onto highways sometimes. You know, accelerating on the highway means you had to downshift 2 gears. I know some people say it's not really that bad. I don't know if maybe, you know, the intake that I did made it slower or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a fun car. It's fun, but it's not fast, I'd say. It's exciting. If you like redlining a car constantly, then it can be quick and stuff, but they just have no low-end power. And I'm the kind of person that kind of, when I'm driving with my manual, I like having torque. I like accelerating, you know, at like 3/4 throttle from, like, you know, 1,000 RPM or whatever up to, like, you know, 3.5 or 4,000 RPMs, and shifting at like 3,500. So if there isn't good meaty power between 2.5 and 3.5, to me, it's not an enjoyable daily driver, because it means I have to constantly wring it out and be driving like a madman to, you know, get anywhere, and that can get exhausting. I mean, there's times where that's fun if you're in the mood for that. I think a BRZ would be a great weekend car, but as a daily driver in traffic and stuff, with, you know, Toyota RAV4s having, you know, faster 0 to 60 times than the BRZ and stuff, it's just something that, you know, I think it needs more power. And as much as the purists want to deny it, I think that's what's holding back that car from really, you know, having more sales and lasting longer. I think it's kind of dying off with the sales, just because they haven't really found any ways to make it interesting. It's been around now for, you know, almost about 3 years here, and it's time for a little bit of an update. So hopefully they give it a little more power, make it interesting here for the next model year, but for now it's just kind of a little stale, I think. The Zombie Slayer says, can I make an 05 Camry fast? You can make anything fast if you have enough money. But an 05 Camry, you're going to be limited, because there's not a whole lot to do. Anyone that's looking for a car they want to make fast, like really fast, the biggest thing is buying a turbocharged car, because you have so much potential with a turbo. It's so easy to make more power. Anything naturally aspirated, you're going to have to put a turbo on, which it wasn't designed for, which can make it unreliable and more of a headache and stuff like that. So I would start with something turbocharged if you're going to be going for big power, or do it the old school way and just do something with a big V8 or something like that. Jeff says, Would you be interested in turning your Mustang into a drift car? Are you even into drifting? It's funny, way back when I bought the BRZ in 2012, I was planning on drifting in that. Not like professionally or anything, but every once in a while, I thought it would be fun to take it drifting. Unfortunately, it was just one of those things, like I couldn't justify burning off tires for a weekend, you know, like it just, tires are kind of expensive and not something you can just lightly burn through just for the fun of it. And so that always kept me out of it. I kind of regret it now. I wish I would have just sucked it up, saved up a couple $100 and just blew off some tires just for fun. But because I've ridden in drift cars, and you can go and look, I have a few videos on YouTube from years ago where I took some rides in drift cars and had a blast. I love drifting. Drifting is awesome. But, you know, I've never been drifting myself in any kind of sanctioned events or anything like that. And so, yeah, but I think drifting's awesome. It's one of my favorite motorsports, actually. And so, yeah. All right. Losing my voice here a little bit, like it always happens with these live streams. I just keep going and going, and I'm losing my voice a little bit. But all right, so Jay says, thoughts on vinyl wrapping cars? I think it's awesome. I think it's great now with, you know, that you can just vinyl wrap something, and you know, it's cool because you can customize it and make it whatever you want. And it's good because so many people were like, well, I want this color car and you can't find it anywhere. Just buy a different color and wrap it. You know, it's great. And it's great for protective purposes and stuff like that for rallies and things. So yeah, I think vinyl wrapping is awesome. All right. Someone asked, will I ever get a motorcycle? I get that question from time to time. I'm not the biggest fan of motorcycles. I think they're awesome in certain ways. I would like to, like, someday maybe have a dirt bike to ride, you know, off-road. But my problem with motorcycles is I don't trust other people when I'm out on the street in a motorcycle. I'm worried because I see it all the time. I see people cut off motorcyclists, treat them terribly, and just not even look for them on the road. And it just terrifies me to see these other people on motorcycles with no helmets on and stuff just going crazy. And I just don't trust everyone else on the road. If we lived in a perfect world where everyone obeyed traffic laws and, you know, was a good driver, then I would probably consider having a motorcycle at some point. But I like having metal around me and having the safety of airbags and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so, you know, I have friends that have had motorcycles and stuff, but for me, it's just too unsafe, sadly. All right. So Rye says, is there a long list of fans requesting you to review their cars, like for meetups and stuff like that? Yeah, again, I'm not gonna, I wish I could share it because it's really an exciting list of cars, but I do have a long list of cars, and I have, like, I'm trying to group it up into relative areas. So I have like a bunch of Philly area people. I have a bunch of Atlanta cars. I have some stuff in Toronto, a few other places, like I mentioned previously, where I'm planning on doing these trips to, reviewing a bunch of cars. But I do have a lot of people that have sent me, you know, offers, and I said, thank you very much. I'll contact you once I, you know, have more details about when I'm getting to these places and able to do the reviews. But I have a lot of stuff that if it all works out, I mean, you know, stuff falls through, people sell their cars and whatnot. But if it all works out, it's like that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited about this fall. There's going to be some really sick cars I'll be reviewing, so I'm excited for that. But so all right, King James says, Scion TC or Scion FRS? Oh yeah, and what you drink in soda? I'm drinking what's left of a peach iced tea from McDonald's that I got earlier today. So yeah, but as far as the whole totally forgot the question now. Oh yeah, the TC versus the FRS. Definitely the FRS. Again, the TC, I reviewed a 2012 TC last year. Was not a fan of it. You know, it's just front wheel drive. It's not super sporty in the way that it's set up. If you want a good front wheel drive, fun car, get a Civic Si. Otherwise, you know, or GTI, a Fiesta ST, Focus ST, stuff like that. But TC is just not very fun in my opinion. I definitely would suggest the FRS over the TC. Zombie Slayer says, is Plasti Dip good for broke people? Yeah, Plasti Dip's great too. I think the only thing is I've seen people that leave Plasti Dip on their cars for, you know, a year or more that end up, it's like impossible to take off. So if you're planning on leaving Plasti Dip on your car forever, that's fine. Otherwise, I would like take it off every year or two and reapply, something like that. But yeah, so yeah, but all right. Lonely Fry says you should do a meetup in Los Angeles next time you're out here. It's definitely something I could do. I'm kind of like, I like keeping things casual and loose. So I'm not the best as far as planning things, as far as like planning an actual car show and, you know, figuring out a parking lot and getting everyone's clearances and, you know, permission in order to do that kind of stuff. But I actually had a great time with a little, I guess you could call it a bit of a meetup whenever I went to the SoCal South Bay 86 meet last year. That was great because they were all, you know, fans of the channel, and it was great to meet all of them and hang out with them for a night. And it was great. You know, we went for a cruise in the canyons and we got tacos at like 2:30 a.m. and just, it was an awesome time. It was just really great. So I'm looking forward to doing that again at least. And I recommend anyone that's into that, you know, the FRS and the BRZ that has those should check out their group. They're a great group of people. Yeah, so I'll probably do something maybe there at some point if I make my way out to LA soon. But otherwise, yeah, we'll see about the whole meetup thing and whether I end up doing anything formal like that. Someone's asking, do I watch Matt Farah's one-take videos? I do. I don't watch all of them. I just watch the ones that kind of interest me as far as the different cars and stuff. But I think he's got a really good thing going with the one takes because, again, it's the whole thing of low budget because YouTube does not reward high budget stuff. And that's why, you know, Chris Harris and some of these other guys are struggling to, you know, keep the lights on and be able to fund all their videos because it's just so expensive to produce, you know, Motor Trend quality videos. And so with slapping a GoPro on and just talking with the car and stuff like that, like how I do, and Matt Farah and all these guys, I think that's the way to do it for YouTube because you don't end up going broke and you still provide great content. And, you know, I mean, the visuals are great. It's awesome to have, you know, sweet shots and, you know, theater quality visuals and stuff. But at the end of the day, people are listening to the review and it's nice to have, you know, the cool shots and stuff, but you're reviewing a car and it's not, you know, a movie. It's just a car review. So I think that doing it the low budget way is probably the best way to kind of go about that stuff. And I think Matt Farah is really doing it right. And, you know, I kind of look up to him. He's another one of the role models I mentioned at the beginning of this last year. I saw Kyle's a role model, and Matt Farah is another. I think he's doing a great job with car reviews, and I hope to get to be as good of a driver as him one day. Street Speed 717 says, love you, Matt. Looking forward to this weekend. Yeah, thanks, man. It's thanks for watching and hanging out. Yeah, hopefully that's one thing I'll probably be doing. It's not set in stone yet, so I don't want to like get everyone's hopes up. But for anyone in the Harrisburg area, I'm thinking about going to the Supercars on State Street event that is going on next weekend. And so I'm gonna hopefully meet up with Mike there from the Street Scene channel, Street Speed, I mean, sorry. And so, but yeah, there's that whole thing going on. And he's got a great channel, by the way, for those of you looking for other channels to watch. He's great. All right, so. Arsh says, would you ever consider making vlogs? I kind of do vlogs from time to time, but I do want to do more vlogs. I think I want to keep them mostly car related though. I don't want to just turn it into the Matt channel. And, you know, I honestly, this might sound kind of funny, but I don't really like do that many exciting things aside from the car reviews and that kind of stuff. Like, I have a pretty, you know, ordinary kind of life. I don't do, you know, crazy car rallies. I don't go and travel the world every weekend and do crazy things. I have a pretty, you know, ordinary life as far as that whole stuff goes. And so, you know, but I do want to do vlogs, you know, maybe show you guys how I edit a little bit or just kind of a day in the life of, you know, when I'm filming a car review, something like that. But as far as like any kind of daily vlogs or stuff like that, I don't think my life's really interesting enough to vlog about all the time. But you know, just from time to time, I'll definitely do vlogs whenever I have something interesting to vlog about, I guess. You know, and I know some people have asked me to do like a Periscope recently, and that's something that's been, you know, really popular all of a sudden. And that's a cool idea, but again, like I don't know what I would really Periscope about. And I'm open to any of your thoughts. I love hearing what you guys think about that kind of stuff. So let me know, you know, if there are certain things you would like me to Periscope about. But overall, you know, I'm filming a car review. I'm focused on filming that and stuff. So I think doing Periscope while I'm doing that would be kind of hard. But you know, as far as other things, like I don't think there's really anything worth periscoping, really, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, like someone or Arsh is asking about the behind the scenes. That would be something that I would be, interested in doing. And since, my wife actually has been coming along with me for some of the car reviews recently that I've filmed this past week. So I'm thinking about, maybe she can just have a camera and just film me as I'm filming the car review, and that'd be kind of cool. So that's actually a good idea. Thank you guys. See, these are really productive. It gives me ideas, and you guys can contribute and, tell me what you want to see, and I love that. So if that's something that other people really want to see as a behind the scenes kind of thing, then that's something I will definitely plan on doing. John says, I've been here for an hour and you still haven't answered my questions. I'm sorry. I keep like missing stuff. I'm just seeing whatever's popping up. It's loading really quickly here, and I'm just trying to catch whatever I can. But just like I said, keep asking your questions in a non-spammy way. Every once in a while ask it. Hopefully I'll be able to get to it. But I do want to answer everyone's questions as much as possible here. Anthony says, why did you choose the Mustang over the WRX? And this is something a lot of people ask, so I will answer it again. I've answered this many times, but I think, the main reason why is I like enjoying two-door cars while I can, because it's one of those things, once you have a family and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people have to have four-door cars, and I don't know if I'll be wealthy enough to afford to have a second or a third car and have a weekend car and stuff. I mean, hopefully I will. Hopefully everything goes well with the channel and things like that, and I will be able to. But I want to make sure that if I can only have two-door cars until I have kids, I want to make sure I can have a two-door car when I can. So that's something, and I've always loved two-door styling better and stuff. I love the WRX, and if I needed a four-door car, that's probably the first thing I'd get. But it just I love the Mustangs. I've always wanted one, and that's always been like a dream car of mine. And so that's something that, like, again, thanks to you guys, was made possible, and we're able to do that. And I think it's paying off. You guys are really enjoying all the weekly updates and all the things that I've been showing about how it drives in the snow and how everything's working out with that. And I wanted to do a new car too, because I know the WRX is due for 2015 as well. But a lot of people were curious about the EcoBoost. Everyone was like, will it blow up? Will it be a reliable car? Will it be fun? Is it gonna, kind of not be as good as, the V6 or the V8 and stuff like that? So I kind of did this just to show, because no one else was really doing anything quite like that, what I was doing. And so I wanted to make sure that I was kind of showing what the turbo four-cylinder Mustang's like and stuff, and the pros and the cons of it. And I think hopefully I've been achieving that. So yeah, but all right, left hand, let me see. Okay, it's not something of the spirit. Oh, do you think it's worth it to get an 09 GTR? I think they're great. Just don't do launch control on those old ones, because those are the ones where the transmissions just blew apart. But yeah, so I think they're great though. They're tons of fun. I love the 09 GTR that I reviewed. It was an awesome car, and I would definitely recommend it. Vishal says 03 BMW M3, great car. That's another car I'm hopefully going to be reviewing this fall. We'll see. I definitely want to do an E46 M3. It's another car lots of you have been requesting, so hopefully we can make that happen. All right. Cameron says, hey Matt, what do you think of the Saleen S5S Raptor? I think I know what you're talking about. I'm not totally sure I even know what that is. Sorry if that's like awful, but I'm not totally sure if I know what that is. But if that's the like Saleen version of the Raptor, I haven't seen that. I've only just seen the Hennessy versions. Chris asked, do you still have the Boomba blow-off valve adapter? I do not. I did the review of it. I wasn't a huge fan of it. You guys, most of you hated it, and I understand. That's totally okay. So I took it off of the car quickly. And yeah, I don't have it anymore. And the people that supplied it, Boomba supplied it to me, and they asked if I could send it back since I wasn't going to be using it anymore. And so I sent it back to them. So do not have it anymore. All right. All right, John, I see your comment. What are your thoughts on Japanese drifting legend Toyota Terreno AE86? I love the AE86. I actually rode in an AE86. I didn't film it because this was before my YouTube days, but I rode in one of those 86s, and it was awesome. It was a drift car. It was prepped for drift, roll cage, everything else. And I rode along with the guy, and it was so sweet. It was such a sweet ride. And yeah, that was my first ride in a drift car, by the way. So I got started right, and it was really fun. So yeah, that was awesome. But I love them. Arsh says, "What's your favorite Japanese sports car?" I would say the R34 GTR still. Definitely. All right. So Epic Lion says, "Do you think you'll ever receive a car as a gift because of your YouTube channel?" Roman Atwood got a GTR for free. I heard about that, and all I can say is one can dream. It'd be great to have something given to me, but then again, I don't want to I think that would kind of, I guess, sway my opinion. If someone gave me a car, then people would be like, well, he just got it for free, so of course he's gonna love it and stuff like that. So I don't ever want to I don't know if that would be something that would be good for the channel or not, but it would be sweet if someone just gave me a car. That'd be awesome. But it would probably be like a second car or something. It wouldn't be like my only car. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know if the Roman Atwood thing was just a rare exception because he's super huge on YouTube or what. But who knows? Maybe one day. All right. Justin says BMW i8 versus Acura NSX. I think the NSX is definitely the faster car. So I would, and the i8 looks really sweet. I think it just looks cooler than its performance actually. I mean, it's a good performing car, but I think it's more of a style thing and more of a statement than it is an actual performance car. Like I don't see really anyone tracking a BMW i8 or anything. It's more of just a cool daily driver kind of thing. The NSX is an actual, all-out supercar, and it's sweet. So I think the NSX would be my pick. But all right. And let me see. All right, Motherboard asks BRZ or 370Z. 370Z if you like power and don't need a back seat. BRZ if you need a back seat and you want better handling, because the BRZ definitely is lighter and handles better than the 370Z. It also is quieter. The 370Z, if you watch my review of that car, had insane road noise. It's like they put no sound deadening over the rear wheel wells. It was just so loud. It was pretty remarkable just how loud it was just from road noise. So yeah, but anyway, let me see. Zombie Slayer says, "Do you watch your own videos?" I mean, I have to watch them to edit them. I watch the footage that I filmed and I edit it together and stuff, but I don't sit on my couch and watch my own videos or anything like that. But yeah, it's I know some people are really uncomfortable with watching themselves on video and things like that, and I kind of am sometimes, but normally it doesn't really bother me. Brian says, "Do you wash your car by hand or go through a commercial wash?" In the winter time, I just do the touchless car washes, because I don't have a heated garage to wash my car in, so I don't have that luxury. In the summertime, though, I used to hand wash, but now where I live, there's like a nice car wash place that has the power washers with the soap that sprays out and all that kind of stuff. It has one of those right, very, very close to me. So I just pop around there real quick and just use the power washers and just spray it off and just kind of do it that way. And unless there's a lot of road grime where I need to bust out a sponge or something and really scrub things and stuff. But otherwise I just kind of do the power washer with the soap, do the power washer with the water and the rinse-free stuff and all that, and just kind of take off. Again, I'm the type, I'm not OCD about maintaining my car's appearance. I drive it, I enjoy it. I want to make it presentable and look decent, so I don't make it look like an eyesore, and that's why I do wash it, but I don't obsess over it and stuff. Arch says, "You should get in touch with Doug DeMuro and review his Skyline." That would be awesome. And that's R32 Skylines is definitely something I want to review in the future, and I have several opportunities to. in a couple of the places that I'm hopefully going to be traveling to this fall. But Doug Demaris would be awesome to review as well. Just random. I've never talked to him in my life, but his columns are hilarious. I think he's the best automotive writer, I guess, as far as comedy stuff goes. If you want a good laugh, but you still want good information, I love his total exaggeration. His hyperbole is just great. And so he's really, it seems like an awesome guy. So I really enjoy reading his stuff. But, all right. Keep on reading some comments here. Bubbles asks, do you watch Mighty Car Mods? I don't. That's something a lot of people ask me. It's really bad. I don't even have time to watch all the stuff I want to watch. My watch later playlist on YouTube is currently 320 some odd videos. I was kind of knocking it down today a little bit, but I'm subscribed to more channels than I have time for, and so I just got to catch up on all that stuff. If I find myself with a lot of free time one day, then I will probably check them out. But right now, I can't even keep up with all the channels I'm currently subscribed to. All right. The other car expert says, would you buy a flying car in the future or buy normal cars for the horsepower and for the fun? I think I don't know about the whole flying car thing. I mean, that may happen eventually, but I think the autonomous cars are the immediate future that we're going to see here. And if they do take over and driver cars are kind of phased out, I'm still always going to want to drive myself. I may have, in 30 years, I may have a fully autonomous car that, I'll have for a long road trip where I don't want to drive, or if I'm just, commuting from a job or something like that. But I think I'm always going to enjoy driving. I think driving is so therapeutic. It's so enjoyable. And it's one of my favorite things. I've always loved driving. It's just been an awesome thing in my life. And so it's something I'm always going to want to do for the rest of my life. Even if it gets to the point that cars are like horses are now, and it's like you have to take it to a track and, trailer it there and all kind of stuff. If it becomes like a horse, then I will just treat it as such and, have cars that I can take around the track, and that's it. But I will always want to drive until the day I die. So, yeah. Denny says, what do you think about the Veloster Turbo? I'm looking to buy one soon. I reviewed a Veloster Turbo a few months ago and did a review on that, so definitely watch that if you're curious about my thoughts on that. Patrick says, I have a 98 Accord. I want an exhaust. Can you recommend a nice, cheap exhaust? I don't know anything about the Accord aftermarket scene. I have no idea. I would suggest probably just, YouTubing videos, looking for videos on YouTube of different exhaust systems for your car and find one that you like that way. But I can't give any recommendations really. I just don't know anything about them, unfortunately. All right. Gunnar says studies show that most people don't actually want automated cars; they want to drive themselves. That may be true, but then you see everyone just wanting to constantly text while they're driving and watch videos and be on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of like, it's weird. I think people don't trust autonomous cars, but I think if they were able to trust them, they would certainly grab them, as soon as they could, because I know most people don't seem very interested in driving these days, sadly. John asks, are you sleepy? Somewhat. It's funny, with talking constantly for hours on end actually gets really exhausting after a while. Like I said, my voice, I'm slowly starting to go a little bit here, but I'm doing okay actually. So, all right. So all right. Trevor says, are any more exotic videos coming soon? I've asked this like 20 times. Please answer. I'm sorry. Like I said, that's the first time I saw it. So exotic videos. As far as rides and stuff like that, I don't have anything planned currently, but as far as exotics that I'm hoping to review, nothing set in stone, but I do have a couple exotics lined up to hopefully do reviews on. So if you're interested in more exotic content, that will be coming soon. And so yeah, Brian asks, won't that iced tea keep you up all night? No, iced tea doesn't do that. Coffee would. If I was drinking coffee right now, forget it. I'd be up till like 3, but iced tea, I'm good. And at this point, I've been sipping on this for the past 2 hours, so it's mostly just watered down ice at this point. All right, switching over to a glass of water now. See, I come prepared. I got like drinks lined up. I got snacks lined up. I'm like ready to go for the long haul here. All right. Danny says any caller with Nick Murray. I'm not sure what that means by caller, but Nick Murray's awesome, and you know, we did that collab recently, and we're planning to do another collab this year, hopefully. Again, nothing is set in stone, but we would like to do something again, and hopefully that'll work out. But he's awesome. I really enjoy his channel, and it's funny, but I don't know if you guys remember, like last month, whenever the Top Gear auditions were going on. I'm hoping he gets picked for that because I think he would be perfect for Top Gear. And his channel is almost like a Top Gear style channel in some ways. It's really a fun channel, and so yeah, hopefully do another collab with him sometime. All right. So someone's asking what's the most reliable car brands. I would say it's still probably Honda and Toyota are, you know, probably the best two, but some people say that's not the case anymore. So it all depends on who you ask. I mean, there's some people that have horror stories with everything. Other people get really lucky with certain cars, you know, so it all kind of depends. It's kind of luck of the draw, really. The Zombie Slayer says, what was your first car? I did a vlog where it was a video I did a couple months ago where I ran a Carfax on my old cars. You can go back and watch that, and I talk about my old cars there. So yeah. And Legitimate Chaos says, they're awesome, man, thanks. He says he has connections with 2008 Mustang Shelby GT500. Would you like to review it? I would like to review a GT500 eventually. I would love to do the 650 horsepower newer ones, but the older ones are great too. You can send me a message. That's what I suggest. Anyone that wants me to review one of their cars, if you have a car to offer, send me a message on the Super Dorks Fan Facebook page. That's where I can get back with people the quickest usually. And if it's somewhere nearby or it's one of the places I'm planning on going to this fall, then we can definitely make it happen. I actually have someone else with an 08 GT500 that's modified that I may do at some point. But yeah, they're sweet cars. All right. Steven says, your review of the EcoBoost inspired me to buy one. It's awesome. I'm glad. That's really, I love, you know, getting messages like yours because I love helping people with their car buying decisions. And it doesn't have to be the Mustangs or BRZs, anything. I mean, people ask me about Civics, Evos, WRXs, whatever. I love helping you guys, you know, make good decisions because I see people, you know, from time to time, you know, just whether they're associates or, you know, friends of friends or whatever, that buy a car and then end up hating it. And they're like, oh, if only I had done more research, or if I would have known, then I wouldn't have bought this car. And so I enjoy, you know, helping people make educated decisions and really find the car that they think they're going to love. And I try and that's why some people say, you know, that they don't like how I talk about the interior for 5 minutes straight in the reviews and stuff like that. But I really approach my reviews not as just entertainment. I know the accelerations and stuff like that are entertaining, but they really are like advice. I want to make it a good car buying tool. So you can watch the review and say, okay, this car has, you know, the storage space I'm looking for, and it's also fun. And, you know, really just give a well-rounded view of what everything in the car is like. The exciting parts and the not so exciting parts, and hopefully, you know, help people to make better decisions. So thank you for that comment. I'm glad to hear that that helped, and congrats on it, and enjoy it. That's they're lots of fun. All right, and let me see. Jeff says, "What's your favorite car?" That would be the F-Type R, I think, that I just reviewed. That's so much fun. And it's probably my favorite car at the moment. All right. Sun God says, now that you've driven higher horsepower and expensive 50K plus cars, you have a greater or lesser appreciation for less expensive, reliable rear-wheel drive cars like FRS, BRZ, Honda S2000, Miata, etc. That's a great question. And the answer is no. I think the crazy thing is the faster stuff that I've reviewed, and, you know, the crazier that I've gone, the more that I've noticed that more money doesn't necessarily mean more fun. And, you know, some people think, oh, if only I had this car or that car. And it's really all about perspective, because there's a lot of fun to having something that you don't have to worry about. For example, like Lamborghinis are fun, but you constantly have to worry about potholes. You constantly have to lift up the front end because there's not enough ground clearance. You have to worry about going over speed bumps, and there's a lot of things that come along with other cars that you might not realize that you don't have to worry about with a Honda or whatever. And so that's one thing that I don't ever want to happen, because you see a lot of other car reviewers that get really jaded, and if they're not driving a LaFerrari, then they're just bored and they're just monotone. And well, this Volkswagen GTR is fun, and it's like it's not. I can appreciate cars with any kind of power. It's even if it's a slow car. I mean, some people argue that it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than to drive a fast car slow, because it's just with some of these exotics. And I was even just watching a review on the new Audi R8 today, and they were saying how it's a good car, but the limits are so high that you can't get close to the limits on the streets without losing your license, being thrown in jail for the rest of your life. So what's more fun, driving an R8 and not even getting close to the limit, or driving a BRZ and hanging the tail out and redlining the thing like a madman and having a blast and only going the speed limit? Like, I think that in most cases that's more fun than cruising in an R8 and being like, man, I wish I could redline this, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, without being a menace to society and going 150 miles an hour, because you can't redline an R8 without on public roads without getting in trouble and things like that. So it's definitely something. I mean, everyone has different preferences, so just because that's my viewpoint doesn't mean that's the best thing or whatever. But I think that there's a lot to be said for the cheap stuff, and the little Miatas and the S2000s, they're simpler, there's less stuff to break, there's it's just a more simplistic, pure driving experience. And I think that that's definitely something that shouldn't be overlooked. All right. Nick says, hey, Matt, what do you think of the V10 M cars? I learned how to drive in one. You're a very lucky person. That's awesome. I love them, and I'm really sad. We're probably never going to see those again, or at least not for a long time. And they're some of the sweetest sounding engines, those BMW V10s. They're so awesome. I've had the privilege of driving them before. I worked at a BMW dealership back in high school as well, and they were a lot of fun. They were really a lot of fun, and they're great cars. So yeah, I love them. All right, Ahmad says, hey, but I'm thinking about getting a newer Mustang GT. How's Ford's reliability? Is it okay in the winter? As far as the reliability, if you get the 5.0 Mustang GTs, they seem to be really reliable. They seem to hold up really well. Even that dude in blue, he just did his 70,000 mile update, and it's running flawlessly. So I think that the whole stereotype of Fords being unreliable is probably a little outdated at this point. But I mean, there are some people that may have issues with them, but I think the 5.0 motor is rock solid. So if you go with one of those, you're good. And as far as going in the snow tires go a long way. I mean, it depends on how much snow you get in the place that you're at, and whether it's really hilly or whether it's flat, things like that. But I've seen people that daily drive, GTs in the snow with snow tires, and they get by just fine. But yeah. All right. Patrick says, would you ever own, not daily drive, a stance lowered car? If so, what would you stance? No, I wouldn't. It's funny. If you follow me on Twitter, at SuperDarksFan on Twitter, I actually just retweeted Engineering Explained, wrote an article on Car Throttle about the whole 5 worst mods for your car. And again, it all comes down to taste. But I would never own or drive a stance vehicle, just because, especially here in Pittsburgh, there's tons of potholes, and it's just not good. Maybe if it was in California or Florida, it'd be a little bit easier, but I'm just not a big fan of the look, honestly. That's just something that's subjective. That's my personal preference. I just don't like the way they look. I like something that's functional, and normally stancing a car will reduce its performance and make it not as good to drive. So I would never do that personally, but yeah. All right. White King says, can't find a GT350 at MSRP. Any tips, advice? Are you aware of what dealers are charging right now? Are they really not making enough for everyone who wants one? It's I don't want to like be mean, but it seems like Ford dealers especially love exploiting the special editions, and whether it's the California Special Mustangs or anything that's somewhat limited production, they just try and exploit the heck out of it and just, you know, totally hose you on the price, which is really sad. But if you find a reasonable dealership, I think you'll be able to find one that will sell you one at MSRP. It may require you to travel or get one shipped to you or something like that. But you know, I would definitely just, you know, try and just keep asking around dealerships. And if they say, oh, we'll sell it to you for $5,000, never say thank you for your time, goodbye, and walk out the door. Because I mean, they're great cars, but I would not pay over MSRP because that just puts you in a bad place financially as far as resale value and being upside down on a car loan and all that kind of stuff. So I know with the BRZ, now I think I had the second BRZ from the dealership that I ordered it from, because I ordered it and waited 3 months until it arrived, and it was one of the first 5 BRZs in the state, I believe, something like that. I had one of the really early BRZs anyway, and I told them, I was like, look, I know it's a hot car, but I was like, I will pay MSRP, but I won't pay more. And it's funny because they're like, well, it's funny you say that because all we want is MSRP. We're not cutting any discounts on them. We're giving you, you know, MSRP and that's it. And I was like, that's fine. MSRP is totally fine. I'm not expecting a discount on a car that they could just turn me down and sell to someone else 30 minutes later. So I understand, you know, no discounts on a brand new car, fine. But MSRP should be it. I mean, charging over that, you're kind of taking advantage of people, I think, a little bit. I mean, but it's all supply and demand, and some people will pay that because they want to be the first person, and so they'll pay an extra $10,000 to be the first one with it. And to some people, that's very important. But I would just hold off. If you can't, for whatever reason, find one at MSRP, just wait. 6 months from now, you'll be able to find one at MSRP, maybe even sooner than that. I know it would suck to miss out on 6 months of, you know, enjoyment with it, but you know, you don't want to make a bad financial decision either. So it just comes down to whether you have $5,000 to burn or whatever the markup is or what. But yeah. All right. Patrick says, would you drive a Chevy SS over a Taurus Show? I would, just because it's rear-wheel drive and it's V8. Sounds awesome. I drove a Taurus Show quickly once, and it was enjoyable, but it was really heavy and large, and didn't really like it that much. All right, so Nicholas Medina said, finally made it to a live stream. Would you recommend a used BRZ? As long as it's not totally beat up, I would recommend one. But by the way, thank you for joining the live stream. It means a lot, and I appreciate all of your support and all the comments and stuff. It's great, so I very much appreciate that. All right. Let me see. All right. Another question here says WRX 370Z. Depends. Do you want 4 doors, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive? You know, it's a total thing of they're total opposite cars. So I have a lot of people that ask me about Evo versus Mustang or something like that. And it's like, you know, it really depends on what you want. Do you want 4 doors? Do you want 2? Do you want all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive? It's all just kind of, there's a lot of things to consider. So it depends on what you prefer as a person. Mr. Mister says, what do you think about buying cars off eBay? I've never done that, but I've known people that have, and it's gone okay as long as, you know, you can go out and inspect the car. Obviously, I don't know if I would suggest buying a car online and just hoping for the best unless you really have a lot of confidence. But I think it'd be great, and it's always worked out well for the people that I've known that have done it. Amanda says, are there any cars you would like to see at your Cars and Coffee? A lot. I'd love to see a LaFerrari. I still have not seen one of those in person. That'd be cool. There's an F12 Berlinetta in Pittsburgh, but he hasn't shown up to a Cars and Coffee yet, I think, that I've at least been at. I'd love to see that because it's a beautiful car. But yeah, so those are 2 that I'd love to see. Ruben says, does your wife know how to drive a manual transmission? If not, will you teach her and let her drive your Mustang? So as far as her, okay, she knows how to drive a manual. Her dad actually drives manuals all the time. That's his car is a manual, so she's very familiar with it. I let her. We went out in the Mustang once, and we just like were on the side of a residential street, and she just got started a couple of times and took it around the block. Essentially, it was a little painful because with any person driving that hasn't driven a manual a lot and learning on a new car and whatnot, going in and out on the clutch is definitely a learning process, and it was a little painful. But yeah, it would be cool to teach her how to drive a manual, but she's not really super interested in learning a manual just because she's a nanny, and when you have a bunch of kids in the back screaming and stuff, she doesn't want to be worried with having to shift and focus on that. She just likes having an automatic, throw it in D and just drive, which is understandable. Being a nanny, it's a full-time thing, and you kind of got to focus. So I understand. I don't think it'd be good for her to be a new manual driver and have to be carting kids around at the same time. But maybe in time she'll end up learning and stuff. But anyway, Dominic says WRX versus BRZ in Miami. In Miami, I would probably say the BRZ, unless you want more power and you like the turbo stuff, then go for the WRX. But there's no need for all-wheel drive or anything like that. And I think the BRZ is the more stylish and fun of the two, I think. As long as you're okay with the power, definitely test drive it first because the power is kind of slow for some people. But if you're okay with that, then definitely go for the BRZ. Steven says plans to mod your car. And that's all going to kind of depend on I'm working with, certain parts manufacturers and stuff to do certain things. So some of it's kind of up to how that whole thing ends up working out. But I'd like to just generally, just like to do an exhaust, intercooler, sway bars, springs, wheels, tires, and tint. Those are the main things that I want to do. Aside from that, that's probably basically it. If you see any of the other cars I've owned in the past, that's all I've ever really done is intake, exhaust, and I'm done kind of thing. I don't really go crazy, and I like something that's reliable. So, but Evan says, what is your opinion on looks versus performance? I definitely go for performance, but I think you can have both. I think you can have a good-looking car, obviously, that is a performance car as well. So I like to have a blend of both. Brogan says, if you come to Ohio, you can review my Challenger Hellcat. Okay, thank you so much for offering. No one has offered a Hellcat yet. And so yeah, send me a message on Facebook, please. The Subaru fans Facebook page, you can send a message there and tell me what part of Ohio you're in generally. And because I have a couple other cars I could review in Ohio, so I could definitely be doing a trip out there, and that's a fairly short drive here from Pittsburgh as well. So that would be worth the trip. I definitely would make a trip to Ohio just to review your Hellcat. That would be insane. So thank you for the offer, and please send a message, and I will get back to you here. If not tonight, then probably tomorrow sometime. But thank you very much for the offer. Arch says, can you give us another hint on the car with the meaty tires you posted on Instagram? Well, since you guys are all awesome and you're all on the live stream here, I'll tell you. I'll just tell you what it is. So it might not, I don't know if I'm going to post it super soon because I have all these press cars coming out. So it may take a while before it comes out. So, just hopefully have patience with it. But what it was a 2012 Chevy Camaro SS 45th anniversary edition. And I kind of filmed it as a swan song to the Camaro, this generation Camaro, before the new ones come out, that I'll hopefully be reviewing whenever I am able to get into one. But I kind of want to do a send-off to the 5th gen Camaros here because they're just really great cars. And so that's kind of what I did with that video. Like I said, I'm not sure when it'll be posted up, but maybe sooner, maybe later on, in a month or two. But it was modified, which is why it had the 315 wide tires. I know the wheels, they're like BBS wheels, and a lot of people thought it was a Porsche because of that. They were kind of like Porsche-looking wheels that you see on a lot of Porsches, but it was a Chevy Camaro SS, and it was the Tom Henry Racing package. So they went over it and did the Meteor tires and wheels. It had headers, long tube headers, exhaust. It sounded awesome. And that review video that I filmed, I actually happened to find an amazing new road while I was filming that review. So I'm just having a blast in that review, and I'm really excited to post that up. It's going to be a great one, but it sounded awesome. It had the intake, it had a tune as well, and it's a sweet, sweet car. So that's what that was. And I never had actually just reviewed a regular SS. You know, I did the V6 Camaro, I did the ZL1 and the Z28, but I never did a regular Z28. And this one was really special, and I didn't want to just do any ordinary one. I thought this one was really cool, and so I wanted to make sure I had all the Camaros covered. So that's what that was. And so yeah, see, there's perks to watching the live streams. I give you guys all the inside scoop. So anyway, keep on loading questions here. Zombie Slayer says horsepower versus torque. I think torque is more fun because that's what really puts you in the back of your seat, and horsepower is what carries you from that point on. But I think I like torque more. It might just be the muscle car fan in me, but I think torque is more fun for sure. All right. So my wife's loudly playing music. Okay. Nicholas says, what's your thoughts on the 2011 C300? It's a nice luxury car. The problem with, you know, the German luxury vehicles, they get really outdated really quickly. I mean, like the infotainment in the 2011 C300 is still kind of meh, you know, it's not the best. So, but they're good. I've heard of people having reliability issues with them though, so definitely be prepared for repairs and things like that. But yeah. M. Jones says, gotta go soon. Hold on now, it's loading more questions, sorry. Do you think Fiat is going to bring any of the cars they sell around the world, such as the Uno or Grand Sienna, to America? I think as long as Fiat continues to do well, I think they do want to continue expanding. I think right now the focus is Alfa Romeo though, because that's a more desirable brand, and so I think they're kind of going to focus on that. But I think eventually, if things go well, then they will bring more here. But I think Fiats aren't really doing very well currently, so they may just kind of bail again if we don't start buying more of them. But I'm not totally sure. Kozar says, how is the U-Haul acceleration? Yeah, if you follow me on the Facebook page or on Instagram at EcoBoostFan on Instagram, you'll know that I did a quick little video my wife filmed me of driving a U-Haul truck when we were moving some stuff 2 weeks ago, I guess, or a week and a half ago. And I was like, so let's see about this acceleration again, shall we? And just like accelerated in the U-Haul truck. And it's funny because U-Haul actually saw that and like tweeted at me. It was like, have fun and drive safe. So that was kind of funny that U-Haul actually saw my little thing there. But yeah, the U-Haul was definitely slow. Definitely an interesting experience though. I'd never driven one before, and it's pretty funny, but obviously not very enjoyable as far as performance. All right, Brian says, what car podcasts or videos are you a fan of? I don't listen to any podcasts at all. I just never really got into podcasts, I guess, for whatever reason. Videos, I'm all over the place. I'm subscribed to tons of channels. I would say, you know, Chris Harris is one of the best. Matt Farah's stuff on the Smoking Tires, great. You know, aside from that, it's mostly the other small channels. There's Saab Kyle, you know, stuff like that I really enjoy. I love Petrolicious. If any of you like any kind of retro, or, you know, vintage kind of cars, or, you know, European stuff, I love Petrolicious videos. They're so well done, and they're really enjoyable to watch and give you really a good appreciation for these older cars and the stories that go with them that are really cool. But yeah. And Zach says, it's funny that U-Hauls have boost gauges. Yeah, it's funny. It looks like a boost gauge there at the bottom of the A-pillar, but it's actually like a miles per gallon gauge. And it's basically like, if you've ever seen on the BMWs and stuff, with the fuel economy that like is only dependent on your throttle position. And it's like your full throttle, it's like you're getting 0 miles per gallon. If you're like off the throttle, you're getting 100 miles per gallon. And it's like totally not even like useful because it's totally inaccurate. But yeah, the U-Haul has that little thing, and it is actually somewhat accurate in that. And so it kind of helps you to curb your throttle a little bit. But I actually didn't get terrible gas mileage. I mean, I didn't measure it, but it didn't suck down gas. So yeah, it wasn't bad. Steven says, thoughts on regular car reviews. I mentioned this earlier. They're awesome. I did the collab with them, and yeah, he's a really cool guy, so it was very enjoyable. But my wife is being funny. Anyway, Matt C says, Aventador or Huracan? Aventador, just V12 is awesome, and I actually like the Aventador's looks better than the Huracan, but they both look amazing. JB asks, what time do you end the stream? I'm not sure. I guess whenever I run out of gas. My wife has to get up early for work tomorrow, though, so I don't want to, you know, stay up here super late and be talking loudly and keeping her up. So probably we'll cut it off here in another 30 minutes or so. But yeah, having a good time here talking to you guys. I'd do this all night if I really could. It's just, I love just talking with you guys. It's awesome. The Zombie Slayer says, opinion on 9K Redline on the S2000. It's awesome. That's why I love the AP1 S2000 over the AP2. I reviewed both, and you know, I did the AP2 more recently here this past 6 months or so. The AP2 is still fun, but the high redline in the AP1 is definitely what makes it the best. But all right, and this is an interesting question. Patrick says, if you could have one old car come back in 2016/2017 in a new modern way, what car would it be? I think it would be the Tucker. For those of you that know your history about the Tucker 48s that came out, you know, back in the 40s, they were really revolutionary. They were the first cars to have all kinds of, you know, seatbelts and safety equipment. They had the third headlight in the middle of the hood that turned for where your wheel was turning. So that was like, you know, you see that and stuff in Audis and stuff these days with these headlights that turn with the steering wheel. They were doing that back in the 40s with the Tuckers. And sadly, you know, there's the whole thing of what happened with Tucker and the conspiracy against him, that he was just too far ahead of his time, and all the, you know, other large car manufacturers kind of put them out of business before they ever had a chance to really get up and running. But I think if his ideals, and if he was still around to, you know, make a car in modern times, I think it would be revolutionary. I think he was kind of like the, I don't know what you would say, kind of like, you know, it was kind of like the Tesla of its time, I suppose, in the way that it was revolutionary. He was kind of like the Elon Musk of the car world back in the 40s, I think, except he was very unpopular, unfortunately. So, all right. Nitro Tech asked, are you tired? I am tired. It's 10:30 at night. I've been up for a while here and kind of tired, but it's all good. I'm going to keep on powering through here, at least for another half an hour or so. Christopher said he'd love to see a current day Chevelle and maybe turn into a sporty four-door, or is that blasphemy? I think that would be cool. You know, it's funny, like Chevy named the new SS sedan just, you know, the SS. But, you know, Dodge took the Charger and sadly turned it into a four-door. But now I think people have kind of accepted it. I think it would have been cool maybe to do a four-door Chevelle. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought they had a four-door Chevelle in the 70s. I could be totally wrong, but it would have been cool to, you know, name it the Chevy Chevelle, you know, sedan instead of the SS sedan that they did. But yeah. All right. The Zombie Slayer says, would you make YouTube a full-time job? I mentioned this at the beginning of the live stream here, and I actually mentioned it in my weekly update, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, that YouTube is now my full-time thing. I had to previously have a second job to kind of supplement my income to, you know, pay all the bills and whatnot, but I've been able to get to a point now where I'm able to do YouTube full-time again, which is great. And so it's going to mean more videos, better content. I'll be able to go on these road trips and film a lot of sweet stuff that I've had to put off for a long time, and things that I, you know, wanted to do more vlogs and wanted to do more things like that and just didn't have time for it, sadly, and now I will have time. So yeah, and that's, you know, I've been inspired by Saab Kyle before. You know, he does it full-time. There's a lot of other YouTubers that do it full-time, and they make a living at it. So I'm hoping to, you know, have it continue to go well for me, and be able to, you know, continue doing this full-time. All right. Jonah says, what's the red line on the EcoBoost? I believe stock, it's like 6,700 RPMs or something like that. With the Cobb tune, I think they bumped it up to 7,000 RPMs, but I never really push it beyond that. Sissy says, what did you do for Harrison Auto? I was actually their internet marketing person. So basically I worked for them for a little over a year, and I would take pictures of all the cars that they got into the dealership and posted them up on their websites and posted up on Auto Trader and all that kind of stuff for them. And I also did some other, just administrative stuff, ran errands and things like that. But primarily I was responsible for keeping their website up to date and keeping all that stuff running smoothly. So that's what I did for them, and it was great. But Ars says I should make a house tour video. I've been getting a lot of requests for that. The main reason why is just because I don't feel totally comfortable, showing off all my stuff and all that kind of stuff. Just I might do like a tour of my office at some point just to show you guys kind of where I work and something that'd be interesting. But just showing my couch and my hallway and stuff just doesn't seem like something that would be worth doing. And it's also kind of like a security thing. You don't want potential thieves or whatever to know everything in your house or whatever. So I just kind of not interested in doing a full house tour. But if you watch the videos regularly, I mean, at some point I'll probably do a vlog where I walk through my kitchen or something like that, for those that are interested in seeing more of my house and stuff. But yeah, I'm not going to actually ever do probably a formal house tour or anything like that. But yeah, all right. Murr says, is it hard to drive a manual car or no? It's not really that hard once you get the hang of it. It's a little challenging at first, but like anything, practice makes perfect. And if you get better at it, then it's something that and eventually it will end up becoming second nature. And now I don't even have to think about it really. You just kind of know when to shift, and I don't even have to be paying attention really. I just kind of instinctually know, okay, I'm shifting now, and just it gets really easily eventually. So you just have to kind of stick with it and have some persistence with it, I guess. Anthony says, can you please give me your thoughts on the Challenger RT? I've never driven a Challenger RT, actually, amazingly. I reviewed the V6, and that's all that I've ever driven of the Challenger, sadly. No one's ever offered any in this area. And I'm hoping, because Dodge is one of the people that's giving me press cars, I've requested all the Challengers and Chargers. I'm hoping that eventually they'll send some Challengers my way. And that would be awesome, because then I'd finally be able to review them, because I get a lot of people to ask me about them. And I wish I had more experience with them, but I just don't. Thomas says, go Pirates. Yeah, I've been to a Pirates game in a while. I really want to get to one here sometime soon. But yeah, love the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's the only sports team I really get super into. Matt C says, Lambo doors on the GTR. No, I think if it doesn't come with Lambo doors, you shouldn't put them on, but that's just my personal opinion. All right. Brandon says, what model and year was your first Subaru? Do you recommend it? My first car was a 97 Subaru Impreza Outback Sport. I talked about it in my video about I ran a Carfax on my old cars that I did a couple months ago. And I did a BRZ weekly update way back when where I talked about my first car and stuff like that. So you can check that out if you're interested. But it was a great little car, and I kind of miss it sometimes, even though it wasn't fast or exciting. It was an automatic, but it wasn't the best. But it was fun, though. No, okay. I mean, do you want me to? Is it going to keep you up, Sean? Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk. What? Okay. So my wife is going to bed here soon, so I'm probably going to try and end this soon. I'll keep going for a little while longer here, but I can't go too much longer. I just don't want to keep her up. Got to be considerate. So, all right. Evan says, would you daily drive a stance to U-Haul? No, I would not. Not a big fan of the U-Hauls. That's funny. So, all right. Load some more questions here. Kozar said he was in Pittsburgh for the 4th of July and he saw my car. That's awesome. You should have said hello. I love meeting Love meeting all of you. And so yeah, that's very cool though. All right. Sun God says, thoughts on whether the allure of Japanese cars are going away because more are being assembled in the United States, like the NSX, Miata being the exception as they're still built in Japan. I don't really think so. I think it's not only the fact that, like, you know, it's not just all about where they're assembled, but it's where the parts come from. And even though they're being assembled in America, a lot of these Japanese cars still have Japanese parts. And so it's not like a total sellout or anything. But you know, I mean, I think it's less, I think, about the assembly. And I think the reason why there's less allure with the Japanese cars than before is I think they're less reliable than they used to be. They're less affordable, and they're not quite the bargain they used to be once. I mean, it used to be like a Honda Accord was like an amazing car that ran forever. It was way cheaper than the competition. It was better than the competition. Now it's just like they all kind of blended together a little bit. I mean, Accords are still great cars, and they're probably still a little more reliable than a comparable Ford Fusion or something like that. But I think it's just they kind of got a little bland, especially the Camrys and stuff. Not that they were ever exciting, but I think it was just they were really great cheap transportation, and now they're not so cheap. So I think that's what kind of lost some of the lore. The Zombie Slayer said, would you buy a Ford or a Mustang? No, if it was a Ford or a Mustang, it would no longer be a Mustang in my book. I know they've kicked around the idea of doing some kind of variation of a Mustang platform with 4 doors, but they'll never call it a Mustang, I don't think. I think that there would be like a riot in Detroit if they made a 4-door Mustang, so I don't think it's going to happen. All right. Let me see here. Jim Music said, hope to see you drive a Synergy V8 BRZ one day. That would be awesome. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream, I'd love to put a 5.0 Mustang motor in a BRZ one day as like a fun project car. That'd be amazing if I had tons of money to burn one day. But yeah, that would be really sweet to review. All right. The Kid Joker says, would you consider doing a Draw My Life or something like that? I'm not sure what that is. I think I've heard the term before, but I actually have no idea. But you can fill me in, and if it's something that sounds interesting or something that people would be interested in seeing, then I would definitely consider doing it. Legitimate Chaos says, is the rumor that true that they're going to be making the Ford Bronco again, to your knowledge? I didn't really, I think I might have heard that rumor briefly, but I think it was strictly just a basic rumor. I don't think there's any foundation to that. Although it would make a whole lot of sense to maybe make a sub. It'd be cool as like a, either, I mean, I think it'd be the coolest if they kind of took the Bronco back to the original first Bronco in like the 60s and made it this small little 2-door SUV that was like a Jeep Wrangler competitor. That would be awesome. Maybe they have, you know, people in Ford talking about something like that, but I haven't heard anything. That would be sweet though. Basil says 48 versus Huracan. And then another person says PT Cruiser versus Wyra. Wyra wins that one every time. But as far as the 48 versus Huracan, I guess I haven't driven either of them, so I can't really say. I love the Ferraris, but I don't know. It's really tough. It's really tough. If it was between a 458 Spider and a Gallardo Spider, I'd definitely take the 458 Spider. But with the new ones, it'd be really hard to say. Rafi says, any advice for driving stick in traffic? Should I ride my clutch or constantly shift from neutral to first, or just keep my distance and stay in first for as long as possible? I would keep your distance and stay in first for as long as possible, because the more that you go in and out of the clutch and the more that you're shifting, the more wear and tear you're doing on your clutch. Even if it's very minor wear and tear, it's just one more shift in the clutch's life that it has to do. So I would just that's what I normally do in traffic. I mean, I know when you're inching up, sometimes you don't have the option to just stay in first gear and cruise because there is just stop and go traffic. But if you can just coast in first and kind of keep your distance, I would do that as much as possible. Otherwise, though, I would say definitely don't ride your clutch. I would say, you know, put it in neutral and try and coast as much as you can. But I mean, there are times where it's just like it's constantly like someone's accelerating really quickly and then they slow down again. They accelerate really quickly. In that case, you have to ride your clutch. You can't get away from it, you know, all the time. But as much as possible, try and reduce that. It's funny. Anytime I do a live stream, everyone blows up my phone. It's like it's so funny. I have like 3 missed calls, a voicemail, a couple texts, and it's pretty funny. Anyway, okay, the Joker Kid explained about the Draw My Life thing. He said it's a video providing your backstory, just what happened in your life from as far back as you want to go, and you draw it if you want. Well, I am terrible at drawing, so it would be stick figures, and it would be very crude if I decided to do that. I do like the whole idea of drawing. I love the animation kind of videos like Swoozy. I've been, if any of you follow Swoozy, he does some really cool animation videos, and he's a huge YouTuber now. I think he's got what 2 million subscribers or something. I followed Swoozy back when he had 30,000 subscribers way back when, and I've been following him the whole time, and it's great to see how much his channel's grown. But that's what I envision is like I'd love to do a Swoozy type video of something like that. That'd be really cool now that you've explained that to me. But I just don't have the skills. I do not. You know, maybe one day I could do a collab with him or something, and he could do one for me or something. But yeah, don't think I could do that. But I mean, I could try and find a way to like kind of give a backstory video just without drawing. But I guess that would kind of miss the purpose of Draw My Life. Tech Tweaks says, what's the fastest you've ever been in a car? I was a passenger and I did 170, and it was very exciting for sure. Basil says, can I rewatch this? You can. I'd say about an hour after the live stream is over, YouTube processes it and then they will post it up, and it will be like one of my other videos where you can go back and watch it. It'll just be very long, but you can go back and rewatch it. Sissy asks, are you near CJ Pony Parts? They're about 3 hours east of me, but they're another person that'd be cool to work with because I do follow their videos for Mustang parts and whatnot. They give some great reviews of exhaust and things like that. So definitely would like to work with them maybe someday. The Gym of Chaos asks, thoughts on the new Dodge Vipers? Would you ever own one? I probably would never own one. They're cool, but the Vipers have always kind of scared me. They just, I mean, I've seen so many people like lose control in them, and just they're very tricky to handle. I know the newer ones are probably better than the older ones, but they're crazy. And if you watch the beginning of the live stream, I talked about how I actually went for a ride around a track in a Viper ACR a couple of years ago at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, and that was an unforgettable experience, the most intense ride I've ever been on in my life, I think. I got really close to vomiting. It was amazing. It was super high G's and really fun. So that was pretty sweet. But I mean, I love the Vipers, but personally, I don't think I'd ever have any interest in owning one. Nicholas says, do you think Amazon Prime is worth $99 just to watch the Top Gear guys? That depends how much you like Top Gear, I guess. I know I didn't think it was $99 for Amazon Prime, but it very well could be. But yeah, it's I think it's good to. I mean, I know there's gonna be lots of people who probably pirate it. I don't recommend that just because they need to make money too, and they need to be supported and whatnot. And if everyone watches it for free, then they're not gonna be able to make it anymore because you have to cover your costs and stuff. But I'm not sure, if it will be. I mean, I have an Amazon Prime account, so I'm able to watch it, so I don't have to really worry. But yeah, I don't know if it would be worth it just for Top Gear alone. All right, I'm gonna go for another 10 minutes or so here, I think, and then I'm gonna cut it off. So I could, like I said, I could do this forever as long as my voice would hold out, but I kind of got to go here soon. Zach's asking if point of view driving videos are going to come back. That's something that I'm hopefully going to work towards eventually, because I do want to do more with GoPros again, and so we'll see. I have to find a good way to mount See, because the problem with point of view videos is everyone wants to see me go super fast, and everyone gets bored. When I used to do point of view videos, everyone was like, "You're driving too slow," and it's like, well, I'm not gonna like film myself doing 500 miles an hour and get thrown in jail for it. So it's one of those tricky things. Like, I would totally do point of view videos, but I think people would just like complain about me not driving fast enough because of I'm not going to be going crazy. But I mean, if people want to see them and stuff, then I can definitely probably work out a way to experiment with the GoPro again and get a decent angle and stuff. But the Mustang, I've like tried to like think of cool ways to mount the camera in the Mustang to really get a good angle that shows the gauges and the view forward. It's pretty tricky. It's really hard to do a good point of view. So many people do point of views where they just strap a GoPro to their head and they do the head mount, and all you're doing is you're staring at the ceiling half the time. And to me, that's like not really the best. So I want to find a really good way to do it that it's worthwhile. And so once I can figure out how to do a point of view video right, I'll do it. But in the meantime, I'm going to hold off because I don't think it's interesting to be looking at the roof of a car half the time. Harris says, man, don't leave. I just got here, and yes, point of view. Well, thank you for joining. I'm sorry. I've been going for a while now. Like I mentioned earlier, my wife has to get up early in the morning, and this house isn't that big, so I can't continue talking here without keeping her up. So I'm going to have to go here soon. But yeah, so we got another 9 minutes or so here to go. Josh asks, Dodge Dart versus Kia Optima Turbo. Never driven a Kia Optima Turbo, so I can't say. The Dodge Dart was fun, but I feel like turbos are always more fun, so I would just go probably Kia Optima Turbo myself. Tech asks, what car did you go 170 mile per hour in? It was actually in a Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera. It was back in my days where I was riding around in exotic cars all the time and stuff, and it was very fun. So that's the car that I was in. Mitchell says, how many speeding tickets have you gotten? I've only gotten one. I'll probably do a vlog about this just for people that don't watch this live stream. But basically, the Cliff Notes version of the story is I was caught doing 81 and a 65 around a blind kind of corner, windy part of a highway in West Virginia where there's a speed trap that's famous. And I should have known better. And he just came around the corner, and it was like too late, and it was just like, whatever. And it was terrible because he pulled me over, and I thought he was doing me a favor because he was like, oh, I'll knock it down to just 5 over. So he gave me a ticket for doing 70 and a 65, which was nice of him. But I later found out, because they don't actually tell you how much your ticket is right there. You have to go and call up the court or whatever. And here in this area of West Virginia, there's a $165 court fee just for getting stopped. And then I think it was like $2 extra for each mile per hour over you went. So, he knocked it down to only 5 over, but he really only saved me like $22 by knocking it down from 71, or from going from 70 to 65 instead of 81 to 65. So it's whatever. But that was unfortunate. It was kind of a pain, but it is what it is. So that's the only ticket I've ever gotten. That was my sophomore year of college, I think. So that would have been like probably 5 years ago now. But yeah. All right. Danger Zone says GT350R or Hellcat. That is tough. That is really, oh man. I've never thought about that before. Which would I go for? Probably the Hellcat, just because it's going to be, I mean, they're both going to be legendary cars, but 707 horsepower, just, I don't know. But I love the Mustang too, so I don't know. It's tough. Jay's asking, what is next for your baby Mustang? Tell me. I have lots of stuff planned for next month, so there won't be anything probably in the next couple of weeks here. I have several things coming in September. I don't want to say what they are yet because it's not a done deal. I'm still waiting to see if everything gets done in time and everything goes according to plan, so I don't want to say something and then have it not happen and let everyone down. But there should be some good improvements in September, hopefully, as long as everything goes well. All right. And Tech says he was in an event in his city. He did 170 and an F430 and 160 or so in a Gallardo. Hopefully that was legally. That's awesome though. That's sweet. Man, this is crazy, but I drove a Ferrari briefly for like 10 minutes or so whenever I went on a trip to Italy. And that was fun. But aside from that, I've actually never ridden in a Ferrari, believe it or not. So I'm actually kind of jealous. I kind of like Ferraris better than Lamborghinis sometimes, just because I like rear-wheel drive again better than all-wheel drive, and I think that the Ferraris typically handle a little bit better. But yeah, I would love to go for a ride in a 430. That would be sweet. But all right. Ruben says, do you think Lamborghini or Ferrari would ever come out with a car in the future with a manual transmission? I don't think so, just because now all they care about is the fastest 0 to 60 time and the fastest performance, and you can't get that with a manual. So I think, sadly, they probably won't do one. You know, I think Porsche is considering going back to basics with a stripped down version of the 911 here for the new Mark II generation. It's called the 911 GT or something. That'll be a manual, be naturally aspirated, skinny tires, all that fun stuff. So hopefully Porsche will come out with something soon, but everyone else, though, it seems like they're just phasing out the manual, sadly. All right, 5 minutes to go here. So many questions still. Someone says Gallardo or Huracan. Huracan, easily. Mazda RX-8 or RX-7? RX-7 for sure. Arsh says, any future collabs with TJ Hunt or that dude in blue? I'd love to collab with both of them, but haven't had any opportunities to do that, unfortunately. The Zombie Slayer says, will you ever record in 60 frames per second for future videos? It's a little tricky I actually was thinking about this today, because in 60 frames per second, it's kind of tricky with the way you edit things, because my DSLR doesn't record in 60 frames per second. So to render the video, you would have to either like somehow upconvert the DSLR footage, or just use the other footage. So I'd have to just stick with one camera, like a GoPro or my Handycam, which I believe films in 60 frames per second, and just do one or the other. But I would have to lose the really pretty high quality DSLR shots that I use. So that's been my hold up with the 60 frames per second. I may do that for like a point of view video, do 60 frames per second, or a vlog, something like that. I think it really would go well with doing a point of view, but for a car review, probably not, at least not for a while. Someone asked, Ferrari F430 or F-Type R? As crazy as I am, F-Type R, believe it or not. I would take that over Ferrari 430. Call me crazy, but that's how much I love the F-Type. All right. And Jim Music says, as Mazda will do a joint venture with Toyota, do you reckon the next GT86 will share platforms with RX-9 and BRZ? I don't know if an RX-9 is happening. Maybe you know something I don't. I didn't hear any rumors of that. But I think that they could possibly do something with the Miata and the BRZ in the future, and maybe make the BRZ even lighter and almost like a hardtop version of the Miata, kind of. Maybe we'll see what happens. But yeah, it'll be an interesting next 5 years here, so to see what ends up happening with the BRZ and all that kind of stuff. Someone asked, do I like off-roading? I've never done it, but I'm not really into that. I mean, that just never appealed to me, but I can't knock it till I try it. So maybe I'll have to try it sometime. All right. You could recommend any first sports car. What will it be? FRS BRZ. That's the best first sports car I think anyone could have. It's very easy to control, but still very fun. Harris says I should make Super Expand shirts. I mentioned that at the very beginning of the live stream, so go back and watch that, and I give my whole explanation about that. And all right, got about 2 minutes left here, maybe one or two more questions. Zombie Slayer says weekly live streams. It's tough because again, it's like my entire evening, but I love doing them. So and now that again, since I'm doing YouTube full time here, I have more free time. I'm gonna try and do live streams more often. I think the last time I did one was like 5 months ago, which is way too long. I love doing these. So maybe we could do like a monthly live stream. I don't know about weekly, but monthly is a more attainable goal that I think I could probably do. And this seems there hasn't been any technical issues. I think everything's been going pretty well. So I think we've kind of figured this out. It's nice now. I got faster internet here at my new house, so hopefully everything's been going smoothly as far as the technical side for everyone here. But yeah, I got 1 minute left. So yeah, I'm seeing your comments here, guys. I appreciate all of them. And so yeah, thank you all very much for watching this live stream. Like I said, I'm going to try and start doing it more often. So definitely stay tuned for future live stream announcements. We'll try. I'll see if I can do one a month. It just all depends on how life goes. I'll be very busy this fall with filming all these awesome car reviews I have planned that I mentioned earlier here in this live stream. But yeah, so we'll try and do these more often for sure because I love these, and hopefully you guys enjoy them as well. But I have to go, unfortunately. So thank you guys very much for watching and interacting, and it's great talking with you. And yeah, stay tuned. I got some good stuff coming this week. And like I said, if you want to stay up to date on everything, I don't do live streams, that often, but you can follow along on Instagram at EcoBoostFan. I give pictures and kind of give some sneak previews of things there, that don't require a full video edit to, post up. And Twitter, I give a lot of stuff on Twitter. I keep people up to date on the car news and the car scene with, all this new cars coming out on Twitter. I, retweet a lot of stuff on there. So definitely follow on Twitter at SuperDirectsFan. Like I said, Instagram is EcoBoostFan. And, stay tuned to the Facebook page as well. And if you have any questions that I didn't answer that you really, really wanted to see a response, send me a message on the SuperDirectsFan Facebook page. Sometimes it takes me a few days to get through all the questions and answer everything, but I do answer everyone eventually. So if you ask a question, I will answer it. So definitely send me a message there. That's the easiest way for me to interact with all of you because I love helping you guys out and just talking cars. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care.